A big day of live sport across the Talksport network starts here on Talksport 2 from 2. It's live commentary of Newcastle against Fulham in the Premier League, followed by live exclusive commentary of the third T20 for England in the West Indies. And after that, it's live darts from Ali Pali through the night. Here on Talksport after 2:30, I'll take you around the grounds and bring you all the goals as they go in. But before that, it's the East Anglian derby. Mid-table Norwich head south across the county border to Ipswich, who go top with a win. They're flying. But they haven't beaten their rivals since 2009. That's 12 games unbeaten against Ipswich for Norwich. It's the first Old Farm derby for 4.5 years. It's Ipswich against Norwich, and it's live and exclusive on Talksport.
Chaplin strokes it home. Hurst makes it 2-0. Great finish from Hurst.
It's been, made really clear from the day I arrived, and, the fans are so important for us. I thought they were fantastic tonight. So, look, I've got no doubt of the effort that the players will give for that one.
What a finish we've just seen there. Brilliant goal right at the end of stoppage time. From the academy product, John Rowe, headed down to beat Ruddy by Gabriel Sara.
Adam Ida has grabbed the winner.
Square to Sargent, rifles it into the near post, and Norwich leads.
Before the season, for sure, I haven't thought that they will be up top. And to be fair play to them, they deserve to be where they are.
I think we're in the middle of a really busy spell of games, and we got some really good ones to look forward to. So we're enjoying it. The demands are great, but we. Everyone's fully committed to the next game ahead.
To be fair, for me, it's not about managing the atmosphere. It's about embrace the atmosphere. This is exactly how it should be.
Well, Christmas tunes from Ipswich fan Ed Sheeran and Norwich fans The Darkness. It's up to you. You choose. I think I know who sold more, though. What a game. What a game we've got to kick you off on our Saturday of live football on Talksport. Really could not be bigger in the Championship than Ipswich taking on Norwich City, and Ipswich with a chance to go top of the table as well. Let's bring in a former Norwich man, Dean Ashton. And I need you to describe Dean Ashton. And you mentioned it on the warm-up a few minutes ago, but the scenes outside Portman Road, there's blue smoke bombs going off, there's Ipswich fans everywhere, there's flares going off, fantastic scenes outside, and there's a former Norwich City striker trying to make his way into the ground through that crowd. Just how scared were you?
Oh, fun times, Aid. Absolutely loved it, I did. Luckily I had a roll neck on that was pulled right up. I had my woolly hat down, and I just scooted past thousands of fans. They have made such a scene, Aid, especially when that Norwich City bus arrived. And we're hearing as well, I think that Delia's car was behind the bus, which I found incredible. Made such an atmosphere, like you said, with that smoke, with the noise. You can tell they're so pumped, and it will be inside here as well. I'm sure the players are as well, but it's going to have to be calm heads from the players, because you talked about that record. It feels like a very, very different build-up to any of those previous games with how well Ipswich are playing, and maybe the distance between the two sides in terms of quality, certainly this season. And that's what makes it fascinating.
It does. We'll talk more about this in just a moment. Let's take a check on the teams, though. First of all, with your commentator for this 12:30 kickoff, Joe Shannon.
Good afternoon, Adrian. And as Ipswich look to end 14 years of hurt in the East Anglian derby, Kieran McKenna celebrates 2 years as manager today. In that time, they've gone from mid-table in League One to second in the Championship, and with, it looks like, a real possibility of a long-awaited Premier League return. It's been 2 decades plus since Ipswich last graced the top flight. 4 changes to the team that produced their latest victory away at Watford on Tuesday night. Wolfenden, Clark, Burns and Broadhead all return. Twansebi, Williams, Hutchinson and Harness drop out. So it's Hladky in goal, Clark, Wolfenden, Burgess and Davis the back four, Morsey and Luongo holding, Burns, Chaplin and Broadhead behind Hurst up front. For Norwich City, well, there has been a mini revival of late. 4 wins from 6 amid great pressure on their manager, David Wagner. Today, they make 2 changes to the side that beat Sheffield Wednesday in midweek. Stacey and McCallum both start in the full-back positions, with Yanulis out injured and Fisher dropping to the bench. Gunn the goalkeeper, Stacey, Duffy, McLean and McCallum the back 4. Sara and Nunez holding in midfield. Rowe, Barnes and Borja Sainz, who scored a spectacular goal in midweek, behind Adam Eder up front.
Joe, thank you very much. So, Dean, listen, let's start with Kieran McKenna. First of all, he's got some record as Ipswich manager. 2 years to the day since he got the job. He's lost 3 home games out of 45 in the league. Do not adjust your radio. Kieran McKenna in 2 years has lost just 3 home games out of 45 that he's managed at Ipswich Town in the league. That is staggering, Dean. How does that happen?
Because he's a very, very good coach, he's a good manager, and he's got players that are willing to do exactly as he's asked and believe in what he's asking them to do. And I think what I really like about this Ipswich side is there isn't any big-time Charlies, there isn't any big name signing as such. They've turned into big names, is what they have done, because of their work ethic, because of the quality that they've shown under Kieran McKenna, and it is down to good coaching, it's down to good management, man management, to make these players realise, give them the confidence that they can step up a league and be as good as they have done. And also, yes, we've seen they can be magnificent, they can tear teams apart, the football can be terrific, they can play from back to front, they can score worldy goals, but I tell you what, they're a big, physical, horrible team to play. They don't necessarily just press you from the front. They're very tactically aware when they do win the ball back to attack very, very quickly and very dynamically. There's so many assets to their play that I've been impressed by, and that's why they are where they are. It's no fluke.
Oh, and they can scrap it out as well. All their away wins, apart from the one at Borough, have been by just the 1 goal. They can grind stuff out. At home, they've been a bit more spectacular. So, do we ever, look at that theory, that myth, something it is, or is it a fact? You tell me that when it comes to derbies, form goes out of the window. Because if it is going to be on form, Ipswich have won this all day long. What can Norwich bring?
Well, obviously their away form is much better. Being at Carrow Road isn't much fun, let's be honest. So they'll prefer actually to be here than they would be at home. They've picked up a little bit of form, albeit if you look at those games, Cardiff, they had to come from behind. QPR at home, they were truly awful, but won 1-0. They had to come from behind against Bristol City and drew 0-0 with Preston. Then they haven't been convincing at all, but they will gain confidence, of course, from winning games. But when they talk about a derby, the difference is like what we saw outside. It's scenes such as that. It's the way that fans talk to you during the week and during the couple of weeks build up to the game, the magnitude of the game. Players change when they're under severe pressure, and this will be a different pressure for these Ipswich players. That they'll have been told time and time again over the last month about this record where they haven't beaten Norwich for so long, and it's overcoming that. And of course they'll be confident, but it changes the mindset when it's a derby, because you don't want to have to walk into a supermarket next week and have them look at the way that they do, because they can't help themselves.
And we can expect goals, and whether we know or not which side's going to get them, we can expect goals. Norwich have had a 4-4 draw and a 6-2 defeat away from home this season. Ipswich have had a 4-3 win and a 4-3 defeat at Portman Road this season. I'm guaranteeing everybody listening to this, Dean Ashton, it's not going to be 0-0.
No, there's too many players, too much quality, too much adventure from both of the sides for it to be 0-0. But I have racked my brains, I've looked at everything, I've struggled to know whether this is going to be an ugly 1-0 Norwich or a 5-0 Ipswich win. It feels that way, it's got that feeling of either a real disappointment for Ipswich or a spectacular sort of homecoming as such for their supporters, and I think that's what this game can bring today.
Well, we'll talk more about this one in a few moments. 20 minutes to kick off, and the atmosphere you can hear fantastic at Portman Road already for the East Anglian derby. Ipswich taking on Norwich, live and exclusive on Talksport. Time now, though, to preview today's Premier League action with Super 6.
The Talksport Match Predictor with the Super 6 Christmas rollover. Every Saturday until Christmas, the jackpot will roll over if it isn't won, so it could reach a whopping £1 million. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply.
Each week we're going to be discussing games that are featured within Super 6. For those of you that aren't familiar with Super 6, it's a free-to-play football game where you can win huge jackpots through your own knowledge. Simply predict 6 correct scores to win that jackpot. Each Saturday until Christmas, the Super 6 jackpot will roll over if it isn't won, meaning it could reach a whopping £1 million before the big day itself, which is coming soon. This week, as the jackpot wasn't won last week, it's £750,000, £750k. Even if you don't manage to get 6 correct scores, though, there's more ways to win, with a guaranteed £5,000 up for grabs every single round if you get the most points, and plenty more. So, Dean Ashton, you're going to run through the first 3 games on the list, and let's look at this evening's match first of all, actually, in the Premier League. Burnley take on Everton. What's your Super 6 prediction for this one, Dean?
Yeah, looking at the two sides, Burnley bottom of the home form table, lost 7 of their home games, and Everton 5th in the away table. So I fancy Everton heavily, actually, but I think it'll be a lot closer than maybe that suggests. So 3-2 to Everton.
He's gone 3-2 Everton. Everton are in good form, and over 750,000 Super 6 players are expecting that to continue with a win against a struggling Burnley. So let's look at tomorrow's games. Your old club West Ham, they host Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, and I think fatigue, obviously David Moyes going very strong on Thursday night for West Ham, but they've won the last 3 at home against Wolves to 0, but I think that's going to change. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Well, surprisingly, only 10% of players are expecting Wolves to come away with a win at the London Stadium. 4:30 tomorrow, Liverpool host Manchester United. I'll be intrigued by your views on this one, Dave.
I think it's going to be a lot about Mo Salah. Mo Salah, Manchester United are his favourite side to play against, 12 in 12 against Manchester United, and with the injuries to their back line as well, I see it being comfortable for Liverpool. I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1, says Dean Ashton, to Liverpool. Over 900,000 Super 6 players backing Jurgen Klopp's men to get the win. Only 3% of players are predicting the struggling Man United side to come away with all 3 points. That's optimistic. Sam Atface, Perry Groves, Alex Crook, they're going to keep you across all the action with a Sunday session tomorrow here on Talksport as we take you around the grounds in the Premier League, EFL, and others as well. Dean will give us the rest of his predictions at half-time, where we'll look at the remaining games on the Super 6, and that's all thanks to Super 6. And don't forget, Super 6 has set up its very own Talksport League. Sign up on the Super 6 website or app using the code TALKS6. That's TALKS6, where you can also win £100 for topping the league every single round. Get those predictions in by 3 p.m. today. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply.
The Talksport Match Predictor with the Super 6 Christmas rollover. Predict 6 correct scores for the chance to win £250,000. Get your entries in by 3 p.m. today with Super 6. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply.
And we are following Ipswich this Christmas, not just the East Anglian Derby this lunchtime, which kicks off in 15 minutes, live and exclusive here on Talksport. Ipswich away to Leeds, Saturday 23rd of December. What a game that is. Leeds third at the moment. It's a lunchtime kickoff live on Talksport 2, that one. And on Boxing Day, 7:45, it's Ipswich against Leicester. The top 2, that's live on Talksport 2 as well.
Welcome back to a very festive...
Alfie's the answer!
So tell me, who won which cheapest supermarket of the year and drinks retailer of the year? Come on, you must know this by now. Well, jingle my bells! Aldi's the answer! The ho-ho homely shop you need this Christmas.
When brake lights twinkle like Christmas lights way into the distance. When your current speed is stopped and the kids are asking difficult questions about flying reindeer. Remember, every good petrol station has Costa Express and a Christmassy coffee made with real Costa beans. It's the perfect treat in the Christmas traffic.
Our sticky toffee range is now in Costa Express machines. That's Christmas made a little better. Costa Coffee.
Wrapping presents. Before you try and find the end of the tape, again, take time to treat yourself at McDonald's. Introducing the Big and Cheesy, with or without bacon. 100% beef patty, delicious cheese sauce, crispy onions, even more cheese sauce, and a freshly toasted snowflake bun. Available until the 3rd of January. Served from 11 a.m. Participating restaurants only. Subject to availability.
Original.
I'm Vinnie Jones.
New game plan.
I'm renovating my knackered farmyard in West Sussex.
New team.
Lead striker, Wobbly.
Let's do it.
Sweeper, Emma. In goal, Pip.
Style of play. Classic Vinnie.
Crash, bang, wallop, let's have it.
Stream the brand new series Vinnie Jones in the Country, now on Discovery Plus, or visit discoveryplus.com. T's and C's apply. Subscription required. 18 plus. Auto renews unless cancelled.
Just imagine what your best Christmas ever would sound like.
Thank you for calling National Lottery. I can see you're calling about a winner today. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I have. I just need to double check before I do a cartwheel.
Yeah, I can confirm that you have won the top prize, 1.2 million.
Oh my word! Happy Christmas! What do I do now?
You have the best Christmas ever.
I gotta have faith.
This Christmas, it could be you. The National Lottery. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
This is Samsung S23 FE's greatest hits, with hits such as super fast processing speed and spectacular camera. The new phone with all the greatest hits from £599. Buy the Galaxy S23 FE to claim £294 worth of rewards, including £100 cashback. Purchase from a participating retailer by the 25th of Jan 24. Claim cashback within 30 days of purchase. T's and C's apply. Samsung.com pricing shown.
I saved you the best gift till last.
Ooh, what is it?
Oh no, don't shake.
Wow, that's a lot of gravy.
Let the gravy flow. The KFC Gravy Double Bucket is back in stores this Christmas. So much chicken, loads of fries, popcorn chicken, hot wings, and 2 pots of KFC gravy. Ends 1st of January. Participating restaurants only. Subject to availability.
Want to build the bet you want in seconds? With Unibet's Bet Builder, you're on. Add shots, corners, cards, and more. And increase your odds with Bet Builder Rackers, combining bet builders across multiple games and sports. Download the Unibet app or visit unibet.co.uk and get a Bet Builder boost every day. Unibet. You're on. 18 plus, begambleaware.org. Pre-match only, max stake £10 minimum, combined odds of 4-1 and 3 selections. T's and C's apply.
Talksport traffic and travel with My Dear Heat Pumps, driving down home heating installation costs. Find out more at mydear.co.uk.
In Greater Manchester on the M62 eastbound, a broken down lorries blocking a lane between junction 21 for Milne Row and junction 22 for Rishworth Moor. There are 2 broken down vehicles on the M6 between Staffordshire and Cheshire, one on the northbound side between junction 16 for Stoke-on-Trent and 17 for Sandbach is blocking a lane and causing a delay, and on the southbound side there's also a broken down car blocking a lane and causing a delay between junction 17 and 16 as well. And in Essex there's stationary traffic on the clockwise M25 at the QE2 bridge because of a broken down car. I'm Michael Page.
Monday night, live Championship football on Talksport 2.
Essential ear grab technology.
He's falling high into the roof of the net.
Birmingham City versus Leicester.
Coverage 6. Kick-off 8 p.m. Monday night on Talksport 2. Night goals coming.
It's a sensational goal!
Football fantastic.
It is Ipswich Norwich coming up at 12:30 at Portman Road. Just over 10 to kick off. And as we've said before, Ipswich have not won a derby since 2009. They beat Norwich 3-2. 3 days later, after winning that game, they went and sacked their manager, Jim Magilton, for not making the playoffs. Extraordinary. Times are different now. Ipswich go top with a win over Norwich in the derby, live on Talksport. Time now for us to hear from the rest of the Game Day Live team, where they're off to and what they're covering this weekend in whatever the mission with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Whatever the mission on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
This is John Dunn, and I'll be setting the Etihad Stadium as my sat-nav destination as Manchester City take on Crystal Palace. City have cruise control through Champions League qualification, but they've stuttered in the Premier League. They need to end a 4-game winless run if they want to keep pace with the leading pack. Palace will be heading north via the M40. Just 1 win in their last 9 games, but that victory did come in the northwest at Burnley. Palace have only been beaten twice in their last 5 visits to the Etihad Stadium.
I'm Ian Danta on my way to St James's Park for Newcastle United against Fulham. Long drive for me, long drive for Fulham as well up the M1, but they go in good heart, having won 3 of their last 4 and scored 16 goals in the process. Can they heap more misery on Newcastle, who've lost 3 in a row in all competitions? It's live on Talksport 2 at 3 o'clock.
I'm Alex Crook, heading to Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea take on Sheffield United. The Blades make the trip to West London, looking to make it back-to-back wins under new manager Chris Wilder. Defeat for Chelsea, languishing in in mid-table would really pile the pressure on Mauricio Pochettino. It's Chelsea against Sheffield United.
I'm Ian Abrahams. After their ultimately failed heroics at home to Arsenal and Manchester City in the last couple of weeks, Luton Town hit the road and a 250-mile round trip to Bournemouth. The Cherries won 3-0 at Manchester United last week. Home comforts will be good for them. They won 4 of the last 5. But for the Luton fans, will the trip down the M1, M25 and M3 ultimately prove positive or not?
Hi, Mark Wilson. I'm on my way to Elland Road to watch Leeds United against Coventry. Fortress Elland Road, it should be called. Leeds unbeaten at home all season, won their last 7. Sky Blues are going to have their hands full as they make their trip north. But they've been in good form themselves. 5 points from their last 10. But they'll need to improve their away form if they're going to get anything at Elland Road. It's Leeds against Coventry.
I'm Lawrence Mora, heading to Bristol City against Sunderland. Now, the Black Cat faithful will be making the 300-mile journey to Ashton Gate in good heart after back-to-back wins. They may still be without a manager, but the dangerous Jack Clark will be looking to add to his 10 goals this season. Meanwhile, Liam Manning has made a slow start to replacing Nigel Pearson at City. Just 1 win in his 6 games in charge.
That's all, the guys. Don't forget, you can tell us where you're going and where you're off to this weekend with whatever the mission with Enterprise Rent a Car. Get in touch on Twitter, on X, at Talksport or at the Adrian Durham, or text us on 81089.
Whatever the mission on Talksport with Enterprise Rent a Car. Home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
It's Ipswich Norwich coming up at 12:30 kick-off. It's live and exclusive on Talksport. Dean Ashton, former Norwich striker, and our commentator Joe Shannon are at Portman Road. Just let's take a step back from the game just for one moment, Dean, and have a look at the top of the table. Leeds are on 41 points after 21 games. They're third. Ipswich on 51, Leicester on 52. Burnley last season after 21 games were on 41 points, the same as Leeds in third place, and 11 behind Leicester, 10 behind Ipswich. It's remarkable, truly remarkable what's happening at the top of the table and what Leicester are doing. Yeah, but that's Leicester who were relegated from the Premier League last season. But what Ipswich are doing, if you look at it kind of pound for pound in a boxing sense, what they're doing after promotion last season, it's spectacular. It's almost unbelievable.
It is. You know, they're breaking records themselves and Leicester in terms of the amount of points after 21 games in, anyway, the current format of the EFL. And I think that says volumes about just how incredible these two teams are. But you talk about that top 4 as well. That top 4 has won more points than any top 4 since 1992. That's how strong the top of the Championship is at the moment. And then in contrast to that, the team in 6th has won fewer points than any team since 1992. I mean, figure that out. It just shows sometimes how it can split, but also how anyone in that bottom half of the league can push for the playoffs. But these teams seem like they're away and no one's really going to stop them.
So what it means is we could actually have a team going up via the playoffs in 6th place with not a great points tally, and they could find themselves in the Premier League next year. And that could possibly be Norwich. If you look at the situation, they're on 30 points, but they're only 3 points off the playoffs in 11th place. So it's some Norwich fans a couple of weeks ago were wondering what was going on. Is David Wagner going to stay? What are the board doing? Delia did an interview having a go at the fans for not supporting the side enough. But actually, does everybody need to just calm down a little bit?
It's amazing, isn't it? And it always fascinates me, this division, that you're right, you can be totally at rock bottom, it seems, anyway, for some Norwich City fans, yet you're only 3 points away from the playoff after a good little run. But they haven't passed the eye test, Norwich. They have been very, very poor, and even the games they've won, they've probably not deserved to win them. Obviously that doesn't matter, but over the longer term you would expect that they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. But it's a great point. You could be in 6th and have the fewest points since 1992 and get to the Premier League.
Well, what an atmosphere. That will be very welcome in the Premier League if Ipswich do make it at the end of this season. A word on Norwich. You say they've not passed the eye test, and I make it absolutely right. What did pass the eye test was Boya Saint's brilliant goal against Sheffield Wednesday in midweek. His touch was superb, the turn magnificent, the finish, the strike absolutely superb. Norwich will need a bit of magic like that if they're going to get anything today.
Yeah, they will. We've got Jonathan Rowe on the right-hand side as well, who's capable of those moments. I think supporters have been screaming, actually, for Boya Sainz to be in the side because they've seen glimpses of what he's capable of. There was another example of the quality that he possesses, and I think it's going to take probably something like that for Norwich. It's going to be a really tough game. Ipswich are a fantastic team, but with this atmosphere, if you can keep it quiet and they can hold on, because defensively they've been very, very poor, they can make it an ugly game, and I think that's probably what they want today.
Have you heard it? You say keep them quiet. Is that going to happen? Even at 0-0, is that going to happen?
That's what they've got to try and do. Hey, that's what, and look, like I talked about, the atmosphere, the supporters, they're so ramped up. If Norwich can try and silence that, and that's by being brave, by keeping the ball, by having attacks when they arise and not be scared into your own half, which lots of teams at times have been against this Ipswich team here. And it's going to take big characters and big players to be able to do that.
No team has scored more goals away in the Championship than Norwich. It's another little pointer that suggests Norwich do have something to offer in this game if you're thinking it's a definite home win. I do worry about that Norwich City defence. They've had problems at centre-half all season, changing the fullbacks as well, gunning goal. Is that going to be able to cope with the many threats that Ipswich pose?
Probably not, and that's the issue. If I am Burns, Chaplin, Broadhead, I am licking my lips at that Norwich backline. I am. Even the midfield in front of them, Sarr and Nunes, neither of them are defensive-minded. So he's taking a risk, David Wagner, with the team that he's selected today, when he's got the likes of Danny Bart available on the bench and Forshaw on the bench as well. So he's been brave in that sense, but I think Ipswich are too strong. They're such a good side. It's just that record. I know that they will have been reminded of that record, Aid, for the last 6 months probably leading up to a game such as this. It's been that long, Aid. The iPad hadn't even been launched the last time they won.
I'll tell you what else hadn't happened the last time they won. Kieran McKenna hadn't been appointed Ipswich manager. That's why that history for me doesn't seem to mean much. We shall see over the next 90 minutes or so. You might think it's a no-brainer. Ipswich are on fire and their home form special, but Norwich have an unpredictability away from home that means the only thing you can confidently expect from this game is a glut of goals. So lock up your tractors. It's the East Anglian derby, live and exclusive on Talksport. Ipswich take on Norwich with a man who's won this derby in the past, Dean Ashton, alongside your commentator Joe Shenham.
Thanks, Adrian, and an incredible atmosphere here at a packed Portman Road. Talksport's countdown towards Christmas starts right here with the much anticipated, long-awaited return of the East Anglian derby. 4 long years have passed, but Ipswich and Norwich finally renew rivalry once again this lunchtime. Ipswich have made the best start of a newly promoted second-tier team in history, and Kieran McKenna's outstanding side look well placed to end a run of over 2 decades without Premier League football. Today, they could go top. Norwich have enjoyed a mini revival of late, and when it comes to East Anglian derbies, they have had a dominant hold over Ipswich in recent times. It's been well over 14 years since Ipswich last got the better of their greatest rivals. Is this the day that barren run comes to an end? Well, a huge banner away to the left-hand side at the Sir Bobby Robson end of the ground. Ipswich Town Football Club in black and white. Everywhere you look, a sea of blue and white, aside from the 2,000 supporters in canary yellow and green on the far side of the field. A remarkable welcome for the Ipswich team bus when it arrived earlier on. In fact, as it emerged from that plume of dark blue smoke, I almost didn't believe it had been there in the first instance. There were that many Ipswich supporters there to welcome their team. The atmosphere has been building, and Dean Ashton, we're finally just about ready to go.
Oh, we are. It's so good. Afternoon, everybody. To see this derby back 4 long years, and to see the blue of Ipswich and the yellow and green of Norwich fighting out again, I think is so important for this area of the country, considering the distance between the two clubs down that A140 road. So important for these supporters, and you can tell by the atmosphere.
These are the two teams. Ipswich have Hladky in goal, Clark, Wolfenden, Burgess and Davis the back four, Morsey and Luongo in midfield, Burns, Chaplin and Broadhead behind Hurst up front. And for Norwich, Angus Gunn is the goalkeeper, son of Brian, and of the starters today, only Angus Gunn has previously played in an East Anglian derby. Stacey, Duffy, McLean and McCallum are the defenders, Sara and Nunez holding, Rowe, Barnes and Seitz behind Adam Eder up front. Well, both sides are out onto the field of play. Ipswich in the blue and white, Norwich in the yellow and green. And this is a game that means more than most, I think it's fair to say. When I arrived at the ground much earlier on, 3.5, 4 hours ago, there were already Ipswich fans outside Portman Road congregating and singing Ipswich songs. And whatever the position of the two clubs in the league, Dean Ashton, this is the fixture that both Ipswich and Norwich fans will have been looking at when they were released in the summer.
Of course. And, you know, since Kieran McKenna's come into the club, there's been a revival of this great football club. It's been very, very long time since the stadium has been in this sort of atmosphere. Absolutely packed. It's been too long since that's happened.
Well, we will take you around the grounds on Talksport later for all the goals as they go in. Newcastle against Fulham is our exclusive Premier League commentary on Talksport 2. We've got live cricket later as England take on the West Indies on Talksport 2 at 5:30. Sunday session back tomorrow. Monday morning at 6, Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoist are back on Talksport breakfast. But it is another huge sporting weekend. We are your home of the EFL, and this is a fixture that matters so much to so many in this part of the country. Portman Road the venue, with Suffolk and Norfolk, Ipswich and Norwich reunited in rivalry this lunchtime. We've waited over 4 years, and the 149th edition of the East Anglian Derby is off and underway. Live on Talksport, straight from the kick-off, the Norwich goalkeeper Gunn punts it out of play. Loud cheers from the Ipswich supporters. Ipswich playing from left to right in the first half towards the Sir Alf Ramsey stand, and Norwich from right to left as Ipswich go long up the middle towards George Hurst, smuggled away by Kenny McLean, who's been a regular at centre-half in recent games for Norwich City. And now Norwich have possession with McCallum in the left-back position. First foul of the game is committed on the near side of the field, and it's a free kick to Norwich City, just shy of the halfway line. I can see Kieran McKenna and David Wagner, the two bosses, almost side by side on the near side touchline. We're smack on the halfway line at the back of the main stand. A steep drop to the touchline below. And one of the great things about Portman Road is that it's nice and compact, and the fans are right at the heart of all the action.
Yeah, it's got a traditional feel, hasn't it? This stadium with proper acoustics to get the atmosphere onto the pitch, which is where those players need calm heads, need to start in the right manner. One thing is Ipswich, they're not a side that'll press you high up. I think they'll want to try and put Duffy and McLean under pressure, but they tend to, once it goes into midfield, that is when they're so dangerous to win the ball back and attack with pace.
Here is Adam Eder for Norwich City, 0-0 inside the first 90 seconds, bursting up the near side, the left-hand channel, and he's away from the stumbling Wolfenden, right down by the corner flag on the near side. Plays it back to Borja Seitz, who scored a spectacular goal in midweek. His cross is only half cleared as far as John Rowe for Norwich, who pokes it into the penalty area. Coming across to clear from the left-hand side of the penalty area is Harry Clark, and it's driven upfield by Burns and away from danger for Ipswich Town. Ipswich have got across and beaten almost everybody before them in the Championship so far this season. 16 wins from 21 league games, and here's Broadhead on the edge of the penalty area, square to Chaplin, threads it back through the middle, and Chaplin was caught on the edge of the box. Referee Josh Smith says no free kick. Norwich have possession with the goalkeeper Gunn, who bowls it immediately out to the far side of the field. Then it's given away by Stacey. It's Ipswich 0, Norwich 0, but a fast and furious start inside the first 2.5 minutes. Live on Talksport, that's just what we expected. Former Norwich striker Dean Ashton.
And when they do go forwards, Ipswich, it's quality, it's pace, it's interchanging of positions. One thing Norwich have to do, Sara, Nunez, so important that they check their shoulders. They don't allow Connor Chaplin that time that he just had there near the edge of the box to play a pass. Don't think it was a foul in the end. Not much contact.
Broadhead corner of the penalty area, trying to maraud in field. Good sliding tackle on him by Jack Stacey, the very experienced right back, brought in on a free transfer from Bournemouth in the summer. Stacey clears high and long, and you can hear the ironic cheers from the home supporters. It's all the way through to the goalkeeper Václav Hladký, and Ipswich can build again. Ipswich, who would go top with a victory, 2 points clear of Leicester, who are away at Birmingham on Monday night, live on Talksport 2. Norwich have enjoyed a revival, as I say, under David Wagner. 4 wins from 6. Prior to that, Wagner was under massive pressure, and there have been a couple of changes off the field at Norwich City too. A new sporting director at the club. So I don't think David Wagner is necessarily entirely out of the woods yet. And of course, a lot of the pressure, whether it's relieved or increased, might hinge on a positive result today. There's a throw on the near side of the field, which Harry Clark, the former Arsenal youngster, will take for Ipswich Town. 51 points from 21 games. That is something special, Dean.
It certainly is. You know, I think they would have been seen as one of the teams to certainly look to get into the playoffs at the very least, because of how well they played in League One. But to have made the start they had to the season and look so comfortable in the position that they are has surprised me slightly. I just really like the way, as soon as they get the ball, Ipswich, Leif Davis goes as if he's going to play as a left wing back. Clark tucks in to almost make a back three, and then Broadhead comes in off that left-hand side to make almost a box midfield that might trouble Norwich.
It's the East Anglian derby on Talksport. 4.5 minutes gone, Ipswich Town 0. Norwich City 0. Ipswich with Broadhead in possession, midway inside opposition territory. Back towards the lip of the centre circle, and Clark with a long sleeve blue and white shirt on, wide to the near side, and Burns. There's a stray blue balloon on the field of play. Burns darts down the right-hand side. His cross is deflected off Sam McCallum, making just his second league start of the season today, in place of the injured Dimitris Giannoulis. And there's a throw on the near side touchline, deep into Norwich territory on this Ipswich right. And they've sent the centre-half Burgess forward, it looks like, for this. Hurst is lurking as well. A couple of good aerial options as the throw from Clark is flicked on at the near post, bounces down towards Hurst inside the penalty area, and then Chaplin with his back to goal can't get a shot away. Norwich get enough yellow shirts behind the ball, and they smuggle it clear up towards the halfway line. That looked like a foul by Clark on Sainz. Referee says no. Get up, get on with it. Ipswich retain possession, and it's still 0-0 amid a feverish atmosphere here in Suffolk.
He was just too strong, wasn't he, Clark? I don't think there'll be many that'll beat him physically in that sort of a battle, and his aggression as well when he defends is usually excellent, as a flying tackle goes in from a yellow and green shirt.
McCallum on Burns, and a free kick to Ipswich midway inside Norwich territory, just a yard or so in field from the near side touchline. Kieran McKenna stands inside his technical area, the former Manchester United first team coach rather. He was promoted to first team staff by Jose Mourinho, and celebrating 2 years in charge of Ipswich Town today, would you believe it? 0-0 the score. How he'd love a victory to celebrate. Morsey with the right-footed delivery from the free kick, and a thumping header over the top. Hurst and Burgess were going for it. It looked like the Australian Burgess who got the final touch, looping over the top. Goal kick to Norwich City, and neither goalkeeper troubled as yet.
No, but it's been a great start, hasn't it, from Ipswich? And I think that's a theme really, is yes, they play great football when they can, but also long throws, set plays. They're a big team, this Ipswich side. Burgess and Wolfenden both attack that well. Burgess just coming off the top of his head, no direction and over the top.
2,000 Norwich fans here today. 40 miles or so between the two clubs. We had Norwich and Ipswich fans on the train with us earlier. Hurst has threaded the ball wide to the far side to left, and Davis. And Ipswich, as you would probably expect, have enjoyed much better in terms of the possession and the territory so far. 7 minutes into the game on Talksport, and it's 0-0. But we haven't seen a serious chance created just yet. Without a win in 12 East Anglian derbies, Ipswich Town. Davis crosses from the left, and that's gathered by Gunn high inside his penalty area, the Norwich goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be stopped, though. Leif Davis on that left-hand side. He's got a wonderful left foot. 9 assists already this season for Ipswich. Shows his importance and his quality. When you contrast that to Burns, who's another wonderful player, but he's only got the 1 assist, just shows how important that left-hand side is and Stacey's role.
We'll go around the grounds later on Talksport from 2:30, all the goals as they go in. Newcastle against Fulham on Talksport 2 at 3. And that's followed by live cricket, England against the West Indies. And the full time and the game day phone-in returns to Talksport from 5:30. Now then, Barnes going in late on the goalkeeper, Ladke, who wanted to shepherd the ball out of play, and Ashley Barnes just with a nudge into the back of the leg of the goalkeeper, almost to let him know that he's there. It was right in front of the Sir Bobby Robson stand, which is full of the most vociferous Ipswich supporters, and they're absolutely raging at Ashley Barnes, raging at the referee. They want a booking. I think it's just going to be a talking to and a goal kick away to our left.
I mean, who am I to question his motives there, Ashley Barnes? And he's right to have a go at it, because Ladke's just trying to shepherd it out. Why aren't you allowed to try and hook your foot around it and try and keep it in? Just happened that Ladke's leg was in the way and Barnes didn't stop.
What a spare seat to be had. What a day where atmosphere is as important as any. Though on the field, of course, both managers have stressed that their players have to stay calm. 9 minutes gone, Ipswich 0, Norwich 0 it remains. Best way to be across all the action, not just today, but across the festive period as a whole, and we've got 50 football matches over the festive period on the network, is to download the Talksport app. It's free, it's easy to download, and then you can swipe between both stations at your leisure. Ipswich have possession with Burgess, the towering defender, just shy of halfway. Crossfield ball punted towards the right, sent skywards first time left-footed by McCallum. Rather dreary, cloudy skies in Suffolk this afternoon, as Sainz is in with a 50-50 challenge on Clark. Almost looked like a clash of heads. Free kick has gone Ipswich's way, and Sainz, the young Spaniard, gets to his feet. Can't believe the decision. Welcome to the East Anglian derby, Boyer Sainz.
Exactly, and look, Ipswich have been first to every second ball so far. That's been the difference in the game. We've not seen yet a flowing move, but we've seen Ipswich getting to that second ball, winning free kicks. Norwich players just a half a second behind. That has to change.
It's a free kick that Morsey will take. He'll float it high cross-field, the Ipswich captain, high towards the corner of the penalty area. Luongo tries to nod it back across the face of goal. It's nodded further clear by Sara for Norwich City. And then a header at the heart of defence by Duffy, up towards the halfway line. Scooped upfield by Wolfenden. This time it's headed away by Duffy again with the blue boots on. And now back to Davis on the halfway line, and Ipswich are continuing to dominate possession here. Morsey's prodded it to his right-hand side, and Clark onto the angled pass to Burns, hugging the near side right touchline, trying to skip away from McCallum. McCallum slides in, wins that battle, and the last touch adjudged to have come off Wes Burns. It's difficult to see down to the touchline below because there are Ipswich fans on their feet and lots of television cameras in the way. But it is a throw to Norwich City, which McCallum is going to take down below our commentary position. And 0-0 it remains, and I think David Wagner will be relatively pleased with the start that his team have made 11 minutes into the game. Though as I say that, Broadhead's won it back on the edge of the D in a 50-50 challenge with Stacey, who slides in and then beats him to it. The ball bounces back towards the edge of the box again, scrambled upfield by Kenny McLean. Not exactly a first 11 minutes, Dean, high on quality necessarily, but certainly high on the energy and the intensity that you expect from a local rivalry.
I've loved it, that's why. Just proper, scrappy headers, tackles, exactly what you would expect from a derby. It'll settle down, that's for sure, but at the moment I think Norwich will be happy that it has become scrappy. Duffy so far has been excellent. He's won every single header against Hurst.
Games involving these two, Norwich and Ipswich, have seen the most goals in the Championship so far this season. 74 goals in Norwich matches, 71 in Ipswich games. Little flick by Hurst towards the right-hand side, the tall central striker, and it's cleared away by McCallum for Norwich up towards halfway. McCallum was caught late by Hurst, the former Leicester City player, and that's a free kick to Norwich in the left-back spot. Of course, Ipswich and Leicester very much locked in a battle for supremacy at the top of the Championship, and a win would take Ipswich to the summit, at least temporarily. Leicester away at Birmingham on Monday night in a game you'll hear live on Talksport 2. And Leeds in action at 3 o'clock. You can keep up to date with that when we go around the grounds on Talksport. Leeds host Coventry today in the Championship, and Gunn will come across to take this Norwich free kick 0-0.
Yeah, so far most of the players been down the Ipswich right-hand side. A couple of interesting battles. Clark and Sainz, that's a mismatch physically. And then McCallum up against Burns. A real test for the young Norwich left-back.
Ball is on the halfway line with Broadhead, who's smuggled it into the path of Hurst. He looks to race down the near side touchline. Half blocked by McLean. Then eventually McCallum wins a tackle, but it's only as far as Morsey. Middle of the Norwich half. Sweeping ball right to left to the far side, and Davis. Still scoreless here. Davis, little touch back to Luongo. Luongo steers it forward towards the on-rushing Hurst, but I think Stacey saw that coming. Stacey, the Norwich right back, comes across to hammer it clear out of play, and that's eventually gone out for an Ipswich throw. Ipswich keen to quickly get possession going again, keen to keep the tempo high as you'd expect from the team who are at home. And now Burns racing down the right-hand channel, jinks inside away from the retreating Saints. Norwich defending with a good discipline so far and having to defend in numbers in the game. That is not surprising at all, of course.
No, giving Ipswich Town plenty of respect. I don't think they can leave themselves open with the quality that Ipswich have. I just keep looking at Connor Chaplin, because Norwich are squeezing the possession, and just those centre-backs and the midfield players, he's trying to find space and just taking himself out of that number 10 role, drifting out wide to try and maybe double up. But that's been good play so far from Norwich in terms of squeezing that space for Connor Chaplin.
Lovely cushion header by Eder, down to Barnes, back to Eder on the right hand side, the far side of the field for Norwich City. First foray into Ipswich territory, cross deflected behind, and that will be a Norwich City corner in front of the Sir Bobby Robson stand, away to our left hand side. Ipswich 0, Norwich 0, and now the nerves start to grow for the home supporters, and the boos start to get louder and louder as Gabriel Sara goes across to place the ball down to take the corner.
Yeah, it's really important that Barnes and Eder do combine when they can to get Norwich up the pitch. It was a lovely little flick round the corner from Barnes to Eder, who won the corner.
Duffy and McLean are both forward. Barnes is there as well. It's a very congested 6-yard box, and Sara will be able to swing this in left-footed right underneath Hladky's crossbar if he wants to. The referee has just called a temporary halt to play, and he's going to have a word with Ashley Barnes, and he's going to have a word with Wes Burns as well. Players from both sides getting involved. Nobody on either post for Ipswich to defend this corner. In front of the home supporters. In fact, there are home supporters at both ends of the stadium. And Sara one arm up into the air, and still the referee not quite ready for the corner to be taken. Still spotting infringements inside that 6-yard area. There's a real melee in front of the goalkeeper, whipped in by Sara, punched away by Hladky, comes down towards Nunez, his effort is deflected, hammered away by Wolfenden up towards the centre circle. There are about 6 wrestling matches going on inside that 6-yard box, Dean.
I mean, how the referee, Joshua Smith, was meant to decide who was doing what. But I tell you what, there was a magnificent header almost under the crossbar from Burgess. Just got up brilliantly and powered that header away, because it was a really testing ball from Sara.
We love the EFL on the Talksport network. Here live on Talksport this lunchtime, Ipswich 0, Norwich 0, it remains. The ball is on the near side of the field in the Ipswich left-back position with McCallum. And he's played it backwards to Nunez, who's dropped in between the two centre-halves, Duffy and McLean. And now in the right-back position, Stacey will play it to the feet of Duffy, the former Fulham man. And now McLean, the captain, on the left-hand edge of his own penalty area. Forward to McCallum. Norwich keeping easy possession, though Ipswich trying to press high and press as a collective. And now here's Barnes just shy of the halfway line, turning the ball in field, neatly into the path of Saints. Good, quick, deft feet to skip away from 2 in blue and white. Back it goes to McLean, who wriggles away from Morsey. McLean was caught by Morsey there, holding his head. Norwich play on. The ball on the halfway line with Sara. Sara evades the challenge of Chaplin, looks to chip it up the inside left channel towards Eder, and it's away by Harry Clark for Ipswich. The ball is on the near side of the field. Norwich keeping possession, and Norwich really growing into the game here, your old club, Dean Ashton.
What you can't do is just keep lumping it forward and hoping Eder and Barnes get hold of it. And I think playing Kenny McLean as a centre-back, OK, he might not be incredible 1v1 defensively, but what he does give you is that quality on the ball to play out from the back. And with Nunez going in between the two centre-backs, they can then look to try and play their way through midfield.
Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0 at half-time in the Women's Super League. That was a 12 o'clock kick-off. Arsenal would go top, at least for now, if they were to get a point out of that game. Throw to Norwich. On the near side, the left, a big steep drop down 3 tiers of seats to McCallum below. McCallum is only a couple of yards in front of the Ipswich fans. And he's waiting to hoist a long throw, led with the edge of the penalty area into the box, headed away by Wolfenden. It's dropped down to McLean, who just scoops it to his immediate right, and Nunez. He hooks it high into the penalty area. Hladky just watched it drop down the goalkeeper into his chest. The Czech, who's played every league minute this season because the number one of last year, Christian Walton, started the campaign injured. Hladky has come in, and you can't say that he's done a lot wrong, especially with Ipswich's position in the division. Given away though by Clark to McCallum. And Norwich really growing into the game now. A fast start from the home team, as you might expect, though that said, Angus Gunn has not had a serious save to make just yet, and Norwich, David Wagner's team, starting to see much more of the ball, and they often do look a much more adept playing away from home. High ball up the middle is bouncing, and it's nodded down by Burgess, the Ipswich centre-half, very calm and composed into the gloves of his goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think David Wagner will be really pleased with his way his team have defended, and now that the game has settled, can they grow into the game? As for Ipswich, they've got to get back to how they started, with that energy, with that crispness of the passing that they had to try and pass their way through this Norwich team.
Here is Chaplin, the number 10. So often the attacking inspiration. Bursting forward into the Norwich half. Burns is to his immediate right. Burns into the penalty area. Angle tight, he shoots! What a clearance that is by Duffy. Brilliant sliding interception to turn it away from goal. Might have been heading for the far corner. Either that or Hurst would have had a tap in. Burns crosses again. Diving header away by Duffy this time. Burns was caught by McCallum. No free kick given. And now Broadhead twisting and turning. He's in! Oh, he's rolled it wide! What a chance for Nathan Broadhead. Skipped beyond 1, 2, 3 in canary yellow. He was on the edge of the 6-yard line. He should have scored. He rolled it past the goalkeeper, but he rolled it past the post as well. And it's still Ipswich 0, Norwich 0, somehow on Talksport. Dean Ashton.
Oh, two brilliant bits of play from Ipswich. First of all, it started with Connor Chaplin on the right-hand side, bursting away after some neat passing from Morsey. And then it was Burns, got in. It was a brilliant clearance, by the way, from Duffy at that far post, otherwise Hurst would have tapped in. Then when it was recycled back, Broadhead, I mean, the feet that he just showed to shimmy away from 1 and 2. Grass stains on the Norwich defenders' backsides as they went slipping beyond him. And all he's got to do is then put it in the corner. And he just drags it a fraction wide. It's a brilliant opportunity, and he should have scored.
He skated beyond the Norwich back line. And when the opportunity presented itself, he could only roll it wide. Big chance for Ipswich that they've spurned. Morsey wins the ball back with great authority, though, on the halfway line. And now Broadhead spins away from Sarri again. Onto the number 10, the diminutive Chaplin. Wide to the near side, the right, and Burns. Burns looks up, crosses to the far post. Davis! First time left-footed shot and gathered well by Gunn. At his far post, goalkeeper had to go down to make the save. It was straight at him, but his handling was good. It was almost treading on the woodwork there, the goalkeeper Gunn, and he's just gesturing to his teammates to calm the game down, calm the play down. Gunn, remember, the only player on the field at the moment who's ever played in an East Anglian derby before. I tell you what, we waited 4 years for this game. It's been worth the wait so far. It is, though, still goalless at Portman Road.
Again, I think it just shows the shape of Ipswich with Burns on that right-hand side, whipping that cross in. And it's Leif Davies, the left-back, who starts at left-back and then drifts into almost a wing-back position at times, getting in at that far post as you would want him to do. Decent side foot, and you're right, it wriggled away from Angus Gunn, but he was in control, I think, in the end of it.
Newcastle against Fulham at 3 o'clock on Talksport 2 from the Premier League, followed by England against the West Indies, and then the darts at Ali Pali. Game day phone in at 5:30 here on Talksport. And of course, this afternoon we'll go around the grounds for all the goals as they go in with Adrian Durham and the team. A Sunday session back tomorrow, big day again in the Premier League, and actually on Monday morning from 10, Graham Souness will be in the studio as always on Mondays with White and Jordan to look back on games, including, of course, Liverpool against Manchester United. Here's an opportunity for Broadhead, looking to burst through the middle up to the edge of the box for Ipswich, and there was not a foul by McLean on Hurst, right on the 18-yard line. Hurst went to ground right in front of the referee, and Josh Smith emphatically waved away the appeals for a penalty. I think he probably got it right.
Oh, he took a risco, didn't he? McLean barging in with that shoulder. I think Hurst definitely made the most of it, as most of us strikers tend to do. but he took a risk, McLean, and when you do that, you ask the question of the referee, who just felt there wasn't enough there to send Hurst to the floor.
Well, on Derby Day, you have to be glued to the action and you have to be tuned to Talksport. And 0-0 somehow it remains midway through the first half. Ipswich have won it back again and having a really good spell in the game. Hurst, and now Burns has evaded the play down the right-hand side. Broadhead shoots, and it's wide of goal. 12 yards out, had the opportunity to spin and turn on it, hit it right-footed. Goalkeeper was beaten. It just rolled wide of the target. Two big chances now for Nathan Broadhead. The roar of the Ipswich fans. Ipswich really should be at least a goal to the good.
Yeah, and they're on top now on the Ipswich, and it's Burns again. Excellent down the right-hand side, jinking away from McCallum. And then again, he doesn't just aimlessly put it in, gets his head up, spots Broadhead, fires that in nice and low. It's a good touch from Broadhead, who swivels, tries to then side-foot it past Angus Gunn to the goalkeeper's left-hand side, just puts too much on it. Too much spin away from the post. But Ipswich with some great chances, and Broadhead with both of them. If Broadhead had scored that first attempt, by the way, that would have been one of the great East Anglian derby goals. It was just brilliant skill.
0-0 it remains, but Ipswich getting into their stride. That's an overhit pass by Chaplin, left-footed up the outside right channel. Too much on that for Burns. Out of play it goes for a Norwich throw. And Norwich have a problem in their left-back position, though neither team have been great in terms of clean sheets recently. 1 in 9 in the league for Ipswich, and 2 in 12 in the Championship clean sheet-wise for Norwich City of late.
I just think as well, when that ball was wide with Burns, twice now, he's had the opportunity to cross, and the centre-backs naturally take a step back towards their own goal to cover that space. But Nunez and Sara, they don't think like defensive midfield players, so they've not dropped into that space that's then been left. So Burns has cut it back twice.
Dean Ashton, who's played in an East Anglian derby, alongside me in the commentary position today. We had to smuggle Dean into the ground earlier. Long ball upfield by McCallum, too much on that for Adam Eder, the Norwich lone striker. He's not been involved in the game at all as yet, and Ipswich can start an attack with the goalkeeper, Ladke.
Yeah, obviously only experienced it once and was lucky to be on the winning side here at Portman Road. I was absolutely useless that day, I've got to say. I can say I won, but I didn't add to it.
That's very honest. You were nearly caught in the blue smoke earlier as well, Dean, as the bus arrived, the Ipswich team bus.
Yeah. Unless the Ipswich fans know my exact colour of my eyes, I don't think they've noticed.
Ipswich have possession with Morsey, the captain, on the halfway line. Wide to the near side, the right, and Chaplin nudges it back in field to Morsey. Morsey faced up by a sea of yellow shirts, but he still finds the very impressive Burns. Burns, the man who has earned 6 caps for Wales over the course of his career so far. A nippy, tricky winger with a great right-footed delivery, and he's causing all sorts of issues for Norwich on their left-hand side. Overhit pass, though, by Luongo. That's going to go out of play. Goal kick to Norwich. And how do Norwich manage the game at the moment, Dean? Do they take every opportunity that they can to slow the play down with the score still 0-0 after 26 minutes?
Yeah, I think early on Ipswich had 73% of the possession and were pretty comfortable, and that's just changed slightly. 59 for Ipswich now, so Norwich getting hold of the ball. Kenny McLean, Nunez starting to get on the ball, as that's a big tackle from Morsey.
Morsey on Barnes, the two experienced campaigners head-to-head in the middle of the Norwich half. Morsey was late, but actually Barnes got to his feet gingerly, but I think was perfectly accepting of the challenge. It was robust, it was a foul.
He can't really complain with the tackle that he made on Hlabke if he gets one back. But the referee, Joshua Smith, he's controlled the game brilliantly. He's allowed it to flow. He hasn't just got the yellow cards out for the sake of a tackle, especially when you hear the roar of the crowd from both sets of supporters. He's trying to let the game just flow the way it should do in one of these occasions.
Well, you can take one of two approaches, can't you? You can take the approach of this referee, or you can get the cards out straight away.
But the challenges haven't been bad enough for a yellow card anyway. So
that's true.
I think he's doing the right thing. If he sees a challenge, I think he will bring it out.
It's been excellent so far. Stacey in the right back position for Norwich. Forward to John Rowe, who's given the ball away to Broadhead. Now forward to Hurst. Wide to Burns. Into the penalty area. Smashes it over the top. Another big chance for Ipswich Town, and another opportunity that goes begging. Burns really sized that up on the 18-yard line, but he couldn't keep his shot down. The ball went sailing high into the Sir Alf Ramsey stand. Will Ipswich live to regret these missed chances? It's still Ipswich 0, Norwich 0.
I mean, that is where they are so good, Ipswich. When they win the ball back, it's just 2 or 3 passes and they're in towards your defensive back line. And that's where Norwich have got to be better. Jonathan Rowe was loose there with his pass, was into Hurst and then into Burns. And because Nunez goes in between the 2 centre-backs, if they're not in the right positions, it was too easy to get it to Burns. Again, in a game such as this, maybe the lack of composure, just because you want that extra bit put on those opportunities, because you're a little bit tense.
Norwich on the attack with Stacey, who crosses, deflected behind off his opposite number, Davis, and that'll be Norwich's second corner of the game so far. What an enthralling 149th East Anglian derby it's been up to this point, and Norwich, who have a stranglehold on this fixture, or certainly have done in recent times, not been beaten in an East Anglian derby since 2009, and looking to break the hearts of their rivals again. It'll be Sara to take the corner. It'll be whipped in, left-footed, high, up to the edge of the 6-yard line. Headed away by Burgess through a crowd. It's come out to Nunez, hits it on the volley, deflected. And Hladky was able to watch that one drift wide. There were a few hearts in mouths, I think, for Ipswich supporters there. It is another Norwich corner.
Again, another brilliant header from Burgess, but Nunez watches this perfectly, adjusts his feet quickly, just a little shuffle to his left, catches the volley perfectly into the crowd, which is probably what he would have wanted. Unlucky that the deflection didn't go his way.
Boos and whistles from the home supporters on their feet behind the goal. Again, the referee is going to have words with Barnes and his marker, who I think is Luongo, it looks like, on the edge of the penalty area. Ipswich have brought everybody back, and actually Norwich have sent virtually everybody forward, everybody inside the Ipswich half, bar Norwich goalkeeper Gunn. The second quarter in quick succession, 0-0. Floated in by Sara, headed away, only as far as the far post, and McCallum hammered it goalwards on the volley. Left-footed, that was blocked by Burgess, then a heavy touch by Davis, had to scramble it clear from almost behind the corner flag. He kept it in play, but only as far as Sainz. Sainz delivers right-footed for Norwich, headed away by Wolfenden from the heart of the penalty area. Headed back into the box now, a flick by Burns, steered up into the air very nervously by Clark, nodded down by Barnes. Sainz on the volley, over the top, an acrobatic effort. The Spaniard scored a wonderful goal against Sheffield Wednesday at Carrow Road in midweek. This one might have been even better had it hit the back of the net, but ultimately a couple of yards over the top and still 0-0.
Yeah, a couple of opportunities for Norwich. McCallum it was from the original corner, side volley into the crowd again, brilliant block by an Ipswich defender, and then they just kept it alive, just kept flicking it up in the air. Duffy with the header down, Sainz with the volley, which was almost at head height. Probably would have preferred to go for a proper bicycle kick. Instead, he stuck his leg high up and tried to side volley it towards goal and couldn't keep it down.
Ipswich's last win over Norwich, April 2009. Here, a 3-2 in the Championship. Jim Magilton was the Ipswich manager. Brian Gunn, the dad of the Norwich goalkeeper Angus, was in the Norwich dugout that day. And Gunn is in possession now in that pink goalkeeping kit. He clears the ball high, right-footed up towards the halfway line. Luongo goes up for the header, shoving the back from Rowe. And a free kick to Ipswich, an obvious free kick, just inside opposition territory, and they take it very quickly. David Wagner, the Norwich boss, standing arms folded on the edge of his small technical area at the very front of the main stand here. Wolfenden, the tall centre-half, tattoos down his arms, feeds Morsey. Morsey pokes it on to Hurst. Hurst looked to thread it wide first time to Chaplin. Intercepted, well read by McCallum. McCallum charges over the halfway line on the near side of the Norwich left, then checks back and plays the ball to the feet of Kenny McLean. Well, we knew it would be a fixture to enthrall, and Norwich, despite having what I think would be a very disappointing season for many of their fans, have improved of late, and they're very much in the game with 32 minutes gone. Borja Sainz lays the ball to the edge of the D, and Barnes back to Sainz, continued his run, couldn't quite control it in the area, and he's kept it in play, and now McCallum will drill in across. It's cleared away. The ball hadn't got out of play. The Ipswich fans certainly thought so, but Norwich is still building an attack here as it's floated in by Sarah, high into the penalty area on the diagonal towards McCallum, chested down by Burns. Great composure with the defending. Burns will clear it forward to Chaplin, whose touch takes it in his stride away from Nunez. He's driven the ball forward now, 40 yards. Chaplin, a fantastic run up to Hurst, caught in the penalty area. Across comes Duffy. It's a corner to Ipswich, made by the quality, the ingenuity, the pace and the vision of Connor Chaplin. 0-0 the score.
Ridiculous control that from Chaplin, by the way. It just floated across to him, outside of the left foot, on the half volley, flicked it over the top of McCallum and he was away, and then cut inside Nunez. Decent pass out to Hurst, who wins a corner.
We'll stand up to look at this one, Dean. It's on the near side, the Ipswich right. Leif Davis, the former Leeds player, will come across to take it. He's the left back, so it'll be a left-footed in-swinging delivery here. We've got 12 minutes of normal time remaining in what has been a thrilling first half. Still Ipswich 0, Norwich 0. Davis to whip this in, high left-footed, headed away from inside the penalty area by Duffy. Drops down on the edge of the box. Luongo nods it back into the area. Broadhead smashes it in. He didn't miss this one, and it's Ipswich who strike first on Derby Day. And just listen to what it means at Portman Road. The stadium roars to the sound of Ipswich joy. It's Nathan Broadhead who, at the third time of asking, has punished Norwich City, and Ipswich, who are looking to end 14 years of hurt in the East Anglia derby, finally have the breakthrough. Ipswich 1, Norwich 0.
Oh, they've deserved it. They've been excellent, Ipswich. The second part of this first half, and they just keep it alive, and there was no way Nathan Broadhead was going to miss this. They just feed it back in. Norwich switch off. Burgess, who's won everything in the air, just nods it down, and there's Broadhead on the half volley, smashes it into the floor, skids off the surface past Gunn before he can even dive, and gives Ipswich the lead.
And Ipswich keep up this remarkable run of scoring form. They have equalled a club record, 27 successive home league matches in which they have scored. And the first time they've done that since the early 1980s. More importantly, it's a goal that gives them the lead over their local rivals, and it's a goal that, as it stands, takes them top of the Championship, above Leicester City, who, remember, are away at Birmingham. And now there's a clash here between Sainz and Clark, and the referee races off to separate the two of them, and he'll call Sainz and Clark over here, and tempers really starting to fray at Portman Road. It's Ipswich 1, Norwich 0, and Barnes, Eder and Morsey all in conversation as well. Wolfenden is there too, and the referee just starting to try and calm things down, and actually both captains are now getting involved, and across comes the assistant referee from the far side touchline. Josh Smith, I think, has managed to calm matters. Morsey and McLean, the two captains, are speaking to the referee, and so too Clark and Sainz. So 1-0 Ipswich need. A super finish from Broadhead, just a talking to for Sainz and Clark, but we maybe haven't heard the end of that personal duel, that little battle so far this afternoon.
No, but I mean, Clark is going to be physical. That's how he is going to frustrate Sainz, and Sainz has just got to accept that. He can't be retaliating and getting in Clark's face. He's got to just try and upset the fullback with his quality rather than physically.
Ipswich Town are desperate to be Premier League, and they are desperate to beat Norwich City, and they lead by a goal to 0. Live on Talksport with 9 minutes of the first half remaining. So much live football to come, and not just this weekend, of course. Newcastle against Fulham are commentary on Talksport 2, but we've got commentaries Monday till Saturday next week, including Birmingham against Leicester in the Championship on Talksport 2 on Monday. And we've got games in the Premier League, the Carabao Cup quarter-finals, the EFL, and then the festive football starts. Boxing Day and the like. The only place to be is the Talksport network, so make sure you download the Talksport app. Here's Davis driving in field into a central position for Ipswich. A square ball to Clark, the right-sided fullback, who was born in Ipswich. He knows what it means. Back to Wolfenden, who likewise is from the town of Ipswich. And now Duffy, on the edge of his own penalty area, will roll it back to the goalkeeper. Well, maybe Norwich ultimately just didn't heed the warning. Twice previously before scoring the goal, Broadhead had space. Twice he should have scored. Third time of asking, Dean Ashton. As a striker yourself, you'd have been proud of that finish.
Well, you just can't switch off defensively when that ball has been recycled back into the area. You've got to check your left and right to make sure, is there anyone I can pick up? And they didn't pick Broadhead up, and he's done the right thing as an attacker. Got himself into a position where the ball might fall to him, and when it did, he made no mistake. He made sure, with the fact that he hit it into the floor, that he wasn't going to put that over the top, and it was a really, really good finish from him.
Gateshead 0 FC, Halifax Town 1, a latest score in the National League. 5th against 9th at the start of the day in that division. Forward by Wolfenden, chipping it high to the halfway line, and Hurst, who controls unchallenged, and then Chaplin gives it away. He's given it straight to McCallum on the near side, the halfway line. Kieran McKenna applauds the Ipswich boss as Burns wins it back, and now Morsey surges over halfway. McCallum gets in front of Chaplin to regain possession for Norwich, and now Eder running at the Ipswich back line, scrambled away by Burgess. Norwich have the ball again. Neither team can keep hold of possession for what feels like more than a couple of passes at the moment, but it's Ipswich who have the advantage, leading by a goal to 0. And Burns, the brilliant Burns, has won it back again. He was fouled, but the referee plays advantage. Hurst wriggles away from 1 and then from 2, and then he went to ground, sandwiching between the yellow shirts of Nunez and McLean. Josh Smith again says no free kick.
That's better defensively from Nunez. Just made sure that he got the other side of Hurst and put his body between Hurst and the ball, won that fairly.
Eder looking to race away down the right-hand side. He's evaded Burgess. He's down by the dead ball line, Eder. He's into the box. Oh, what good defending by Burgess to step across him almost nonchalantly, use his physicality, and then win it back. And then Burns looks to go long up to the halfway line. He's knocked it out of play. He felt he was fouled. Ipswich fans out of their seats for the umpteenth time in the game. Referee says play on. 6 minutes of the first half to go on Talksport. Ipswich 1, Norwich 0. It remains. And here's McCallum with a first-time pass infield to Sights. Level with the edge of the penalty area. McCallum crosses left-footed. Oh, Rowe went for it. A diving header. Couldn't quite reach it. Brilliant effort. It's come back to Stacey. He hoists it in high from deep. Rowe with a bicycle kick. That's blocked. It's come back to him again. And he scored! Remarkable! Jonathan Rowe has equalised for Norwich. His first effort was blocked, his second looped over the goalkeeper, and it's a fantastic response to the visitors. And it's Ipswich 1, Norwich 1.
It's a quality finish, by the way, at the end from Jonathan Rowe, because initially he goes for the spectacular overhead kick. He'd be forgiven for them beyond the floor. He bounces back up, takes a touch, and then he knows that he's got to put a little bit of dip on the volley. He can't hit it too straight or go over the crossbar, so he just caresses the volley with a little bit of top spin, so it then dips in under the crossbar at that far post. It's a really, really clever finish from Rowe. It all started with the ball down the left-hand side, McCallum whipping a ball into Rowe, who was looking for the diving header. When it came back in, the overhead kick didn't work, but the dipping volley worked perfectly for Rowe.
Well, we promised you goals, and we've had goals now. And John Rowe, his 10th of the season, the Norwich top scorer. A man who has come through the youth team, still only 20 years of age. First real involvement in an attacking sense in the game for him, but he sent it looping over Hladky, and we're now back level at 1 apiece on Talksport. And we didn't really fancy either team, realistically, to keep a clean sheet today, and so it has proven.
Now, of course, Adrian gave it the big one, because he knew there'd be goals. Probably should have had a couple more.
We may not have seen the end of the scoring. Late in the first half and 1 apiece. Here's Wolfenden inside the centre circle. The Norwich fans singing loud and proud the club anthem, On the Ball City. They're on the far side of the field in the cobbled stand as we look at it. Luongo has the ball for Ipswich in the middle of midfield. Back it goes to Burgess. Burgess onto the captain, Morsey. Morsey 10 yards inside the Norwich half, wide to the near side, and Clark angled ball to the touchline, and Burns back in field to Chaplin, gets in front of Nunez and will roll it back to Wolfenden. The chances had been at a premium for Norwich City, but David Wagner, who is a very expressive and energetic presence on the near side touchline, is hopping up and down because his team are back level in the game. Chaplin has given it away for Ipswich, straight to McLean, on very quickly to Barnes. Barnes 10 yards inside the Ipswich half. Out wide to the fleet-footed winger Sainz. And now back to the halfway line, and Nunez, who goes cross-field, left to right to the far side, and Stacey. And Norwich have really regained their composure in the game. Ultimately, Ipswich were ahead for only 6 minutes.
Of course, the response is so vital. You allow this crowd to continue to lift the players. All of a sudden, it just dampens the atmosphere, gives the Norwich players some confidence, but I'm sure Ipswich will respond.
And what a start to the football weekend. The Premier League games today: Bournemouth against Luton, Chelsea against Sheffield United, Manchester City against Crystal Palace, Newcastle against Fulham, which will bring you on Talksport 2. Burnley Everton at 5:30. We'll have updates into the game day phone-in with Majestic and Gabiak Bonlahor. You can have your say on the afternoon's football. 03717 223344. And then at 5:30, Talksport 2 with a cricket commentary of the third T20 between the West Indies and England. That's followed by the darts at Ali Pali. Racing up the far side, the left for Ipswich is Davis. Early ball into the edge of the penalty area. Hurst lays it back to Broadhead, onto Chaplin. Chaplin into the box, drives it low, and he's driven it 5 or 6 yards wide of goal in the end.
Yeah, it's a real key feature of Ipswich play is they fire that in towards Hurst or Broadhead, whoever's got into that position. It's then laid off to one of the midfield players, or ideally Connor Chaplin, who can then either play or do as he did there and try and take a strike on. He'll be disappointed because it opened up on that right-hand side as he dragged it wide of Angus Gunn's post. But again, when they play quickly, Ipswich, they look so dangerous.
9 wins from 10 home league games this season. Ipswich Town, it is a formidable record. Only one defeat, that was to Leeds United, who they play and next weekend live on Talksport 2. In fact, both of Ipswich's next 2 games are on Talksport 2, including the match against Leicester City here on Boxing Day. Wolfenden's got the ball at the lip of the centre circle. He just peels away from Barnes, lays it square to Burgess. Burgess 6 yards into opposition territory. We're into the last minute of normal time at the end of the first half as Davis marauders in field, suddenly picks up the pace. He's blocked off by Sara. And now the ball is recycled back to Wolfenden again. Applause from the Ipswich supporters. Here's Burns on this near side right touchline. Burns, the number 7 with the ponytail. Looked to play a 1-2 with Chaplin. Nunez came across to make a tackle. That'll be another Ipswich Town throw. And Ipswich go back to the halfway line again. 1-1 the score.
Yeah, Ashley Barnes has got an important role. He's just allowing Adam Eder generally to be the one that's higher. And he's just trying to stop that passing lane in towards Luongo and Morsey
wide left to the far side, and Davis won't reach it. Sliding in to clear is Stacey, who was the favourite to get there first. There'll be 3 added minutes at the end of this first half at Portman Road. Roar from the Ipswich supporters. Ipswich 1, Norwich 1. Ipswich have been used to being pegged back at times in games. Floated ball forward high towards Broadhead, who tried to hit it on the volley. Swung through it, I don't think got anything on the ball, and it's bounced behind harmlessly in the end for a goal kick to Norwich City, away to our right-hand side. But it's been Burns and Broadhead who have looked Ipswich's most exciting and dynamic attacking players in the first half today.
Especially Broadhead, because he's not playing out wide left and he's not playing as a striker. He's just trying to pick up that position between the midfield and Duffy and Stacey, and he's done it brilliantly. And there he looks like he wants it short, and then he spins down the side of Duffy. Just a little nudge, a little push from Stacey just as he was about to strike, I think did enough to put Broadhead off there as he put it wide.
And here is Broadhead again on the far side of the field, the left hand side for Ipswich, halfway line. Good tackle by Sara coming across, but the loose ball has been won back by Davis. And finally a slight lull in the atmosphere in the game. 1 minute and 15 seconds into first half stoppage time on Talksport. Jeff Stelling will be back on Monday morning with Talksport Breakfast alongside Ali McCoist, Didi Harman and Tony Bellew among the guests on the show. That's Monday from 6. Morsey in the centre circle forward to Luongo, spins away from 2 in yellow, nudges it forward towards Burns, defender slipped, Burns right edge of the penalty area, crosses over the head of Hurst, and a slight miscontrol by Stacey, who was lucky that nobody in blue was anywhere near him. Stacey clears high up into the afternoon sky, those grey clouds up ahead. Ipswich win it back. Slightly nervy moment for Norwich there.
You would have to say that Burns has got the upper hand against McCallum. Again, just McCallum slips and he was away, played it in. Hurst left it, I don't know why.
Broadhead delivers now towards Davis, pulls it back from the dead ball line, and he was blocked off at the near post by the onrushing Duffy, and right at the end of this first half, Ipswich Town win themselves a corner. 1-1. 40 seconds of the first half remaining here in stoppage time. Burgess and Wolfenden are both forward. Hurst is lurking as well. Burns, Broadhead and Chaplin all in and around the penalty area. Davis drills it in low to the near post, cleared away by Stacey. I think there was an attempt at a training ground routine, but it certainly didn't come off.
No, they went for the Anderton-Sheringham routine and just didn't pay off. If you don't get the blocker right, it's usually easy to clear.
Davis will take the throw beneath the Norwich fans, high into the penalty area, headed away by Duffy, who's been excellent largely so far. It's still 1-1. Everybody inside the Norwich half, bar the Ipswich goalkeeper Hladky. Back it goes to halfway, and that is the half-time whistle. Well, what an enthralling first half, just as we expected. The return of the East Anglian derby, live on Talksport, and it's certainly lived up to the billing in terms of the intensity, the emotion and passion of the occasion, as you so often see. Ipswich dominated early on. Nathan Broadhead had already had two very presentable chances before he eventually put the home team in front, lashing into the top corner after a set piece was only half cleared. That 34 minutes into the game, but Norwich, who acquitted themselves creditably throughout, David Wagner's side very much the underdogs coming into today, despite their tremendous record in the derby of late. They got themselves an equaliser 5 minutes before half-time. John Rowe at the second attempt, a looping effort over the goalkeeper, and isn't this well placed ahead of the second half. On Talksport at the break, Ipswich Town 1, Norwich City 1.
Dean Ashton, Joe summed that up nicely. It is well poised. I've got one big question, and I don't know the answer to it. How on earth? I don't think there's been a yellow card. How has there not been a yellow card? Morsey sliced someone in half, which could have been predicted, I suppose. Ashley Barnes went in. If those two meet at some point in the second half, there could be fireworks. But what a passionate derby this has been. It's been magnificent.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think there's been a bad enough challenge necessarily to just start booking players, and I've liked it, I've got to be honest, because it's added to the first half, it's added to the energy of the occasion, and it's allowed the game to flow. Not necessarily flow in a beautiful way, because it's been scrappy at times, and Norwich will be pleased at that, but when they've put passes together, Ipswich have looked great.
Oh, they look sensational. They should have been 2 or 3-0 up before they went 1-0 up. And actually, the goal, it's a finish, a good finish from Broadhead, but he's totally unmarked. I mean, Norwich clear it, don't they? And then they're lazy when it comes to the second ball. They're just trotting out thinking, well, we've cleared the danger, and Broadhead's there all alone.
Yeah, and it happens so often, Aid, where players switch off. Once that first phase of play happens, where they've looked on the board in the dressing room and they know exactly where to stand, because generally we're that simple that once we get that, we're fine. But what happens when the ball goes out and you come back in? What do you do then? Players end up running out, thinking, well, we're going to counter-attack. The ball got played back in, and you're right, he was totally unmarked, Broadhead, and it was a decent finish hitting it into the ground. But how good would that goal have been from him, from the jinking run that he made? He just put it wide, didn't he?
Yeah, that would have been a sensational goal. But Norwich back in it, they're on level terms, and I'm pleased for John Rowe because he's had an injury hit time at Norwich, the youngster. Started the season on fire. The goals have kind of become in dribs and drabs since then, but to get a goal of this importance potentially in such a big game is huge for him.
It is, yeah. I mean, he's only scored the one goal since early October, so that's quite barren considering how well he started the season. And he's actually been quite quiet in the game, but I love the fact that he was playing on the right, and actually the goal came because he made that run right across the near post to try and get the diving header. When it came back in, he reacted well after the overhead kick that didn't work, and finished really nicely in what is obviously always a massive game, always an opportunity to write yourself in the supporters' minds and in the history books of this great fixture.
But Norwich still in it. I mean, I know it's 1-1, but Ipswich have dominated. The stats will tell you that, but they're very much still in it, and it could go either way still.
Oh, it could, yeah. I mean, they've definitely carried a threat, Norwich, on the break with sometimes the combination of Barnes and Ida in winning a couple of corners, but generally Ipswich have been in control of the game, and I'll be thinking, how are we level, because we've been the better side and created those brilliant chances.
Dean, for the time being, thank you very much. We'll be back at Portman Road for the second half. At a half-time it is Ipswich 1, Norwich City 1 in the Women's Super League North London derby today. And rather surprisingly, Spurs are winning it. And they're well past the hour mark. Spurs 1, Arsenal 0. Martha Thomas got a hat-trick earlier this season in the WSL with the only goal after 58. Spurs 1, Arsenal 0 in the Women's Super League. Let's check in on the PDC World Darts Championships at Ali Pali. Sian Price.
Yes, it's day 2 here at a packed-out Ali Pali, and we've got a bumper day of darts ahead of us with 8 matches across 2 sessions. Currently 2 debutants are battling it out on the hockey for a place in the second round, and it's looking like a dream debut for England's Lee Evans, who's leading comfortably by 2-0 against Filipino Sandro Eric Sosing in a race to 3.
Sian, thank you very much. And Talksport 2 tonight for the darts live from Ali Pali. If you've not heard darts on the radio, do give it a try. It's really good fun. Very, very exciting as well. The drama's brilliant. Before that, on Talksport 2, there's commentary of Newcastle taking on Fulham in the Premier League. From 2 p.m, the coverage starts. Kick-off at 3. And then after that is the third T20 for England in the West Indies, live and exclusive on Talksport 2. Here on Talksport, second half to come up, Ipswich 1, Norwich 1. And then Game Day Live with me here at the Vitality, Bournemouth against Luton. We're around the grounds with all the goals as they go in on Talksport.
Welcome back to a very festive... So tell me, who won which cheapest supermarket of the year and drinks retailer of the year? Come on, you must know this by now. Well, jingle my bells! Aldi's the answer. The ho-ho homely shop you need this Christmas.
Wrapping presents. Before you try and find the end of the tape, again, take time to treat yourself at McDonald's. Introducing the Big and Cheesy, with or without bacon. 100% beef patty, delicious cheese sauce, crispy onions, even more cheese sauce, and a freshly toasted snowflake bun. Available until the 3rd of January. Served from 11 a.m, participating restaurants only, subject to availability.
Team Plus UK. Max 1 online and 1 retail entry per customer per game. Predict 1 horse to place in each selected race for a share of cash prize pot. Restrictions, racing rules and T's and C's apply. Take time to think.
Paddington is back in McDonald's Happy Meal. Join him in discovering all the fun of the festive season, like ice skating, pulling crackers, singing songs, and even playing games. But the best thing is, everyone can enjoy the magic with Paddington and Happy Meal. Have a very berry Christmas with Paddington. Some fun, some food, it's all inside this Happy Meal. Until 3rd of January from 11 a.m. Includes 1 pre-selected book or toy while stocks last. See mcdonalds.co.uk/Happy Meal for details.
Vinnie Jones is kicking off a new life in the country.
I'm renovating my knackered farmyard in West Sussex.
Can you spot the wild man? From the wildlife, is this a stag or Vinnie Jones? A cuckoo or Vinnie Jones? A nightingale or Vinnie Jones? To find out, stream the brand new series Vinnie Jones in the Country, now on Discovery Plus, or visit discoveryplus.com. T's and C's apply. Subscription required. 18 plus. Auto renews unless cancelled.
We don't just do Christmas at Curry's, we do it properly by giving you just that little bit more. How about a PlayStation 5 console? For next level gaming, with lightning fast load times and immersive experiences that will take your breath away. We're not playing games. And as an added extra, it's free next day delivery. Going beyond expectations this Christmas at Curry's. Free next day delivery available in most areas, subject to availability.
Want to build the bet you want in seconds? With Unibet's Bet Builder, you're on. Add shots, corners, cards and more. And increase your odds with Bet Builder Rackers, combining bet builders across multiple games and sports. Download the Unibet app or visit unibet.co.uk and get a Bet Builder boost every day. Unibet. You're on. 18 plus, begambleaware.org. Pre-match only, max stake £10 minimum, combined odds of 4-1 and 3 selections. T's and C's apply.
I love Christmas party food. And now, Waitrose is offering 3 packs of chilled Christmas party food for the price of 2. Pick up some of those gorgeous smoked salmon eclairs, or popcorn feta with hot honey, or try paneer fries, or even those sticky beef teriyaki skewers. There are lots to choose from. It's a hard choice. That's why your 3rd pack is on us. When the offer is this good, expect a little trouble deciding what to get. Waitrose, food to feel good about. Selected stores subject to availability. Prices may vary in Channel Islands, Little Waitrose and concessions. Cheapest item free, chilled items only.
The games, the goals, and the glory.
Oh, and he's found the net!
Game Day.
Brilliant strike!
Live football coverage that's beyond compare. Game Day exclusive.
On Talksport.
We're at half-time. It's Ipswich 1, Norwich 1. Second half coming up live and exclusive on Talksport. National League half-time as well. Gateshead are 4 unbeaten in the National League, but they're a goal down at home to Halifax at the break. This game day exclusive on Talksport. Let's continue to look ahead to this weekend's Premier League action with Super 6.
The Talksport match predictor with the Super 6 Christmas rollover. Every Saturday until Christmas, the jackpot will roll over if it isn't won, so it could reach a whopping £1 million. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply.
Each week we're discussing games that are featured within Super 6, and for those of you that aren't familiar with Super 6, it's a free-to-play football game where you can win huge jackpots through your own knowledge. Simply predict 6 correct scores to win the jackpot. Each Saturday until Christmas, the Super 6 jackpot will roll over if it isn't won, meaning it could reach a whopping £1 million before the big day. And this week, as the jackpot wasn't won last week, it's £750,000. Even if you don't manage to get 6 correct scores, there's more ways to win with a guaranteed £5,000 up for grabs every single round if you get the most points and plenty more as well. Dean Ashton is with us for this. Can you quickly run through the final 3 games on the list? Let's start with the Talksport 2 commentary this afternoon, 3 p.m, Newcastle against Fulham.
Yeah, I think with Newcastle only winning 2 of the 5 after the Champions League, and with how tired they look, most of those players will have to play again, and Fulham in good form, I fancy a draw. I'm going to go to Newcastle 1, Fulham 1.
Well, their injury hit Newcastle, struggling a little bit at the moment. 3 losses on the bounce in all comps. Nearly 600,000 Super 6 players are going for a Newcastle win, though, this weekend, while only 17% of entrants are predicting a Fulham win. Meanwhile, Man City host Crystal Palace. Your Super 6 prediction for this one, Dean?
Well, no Edouard for Palace, and they're a different team without Eze, even though it sounds as if Haaland probably won't feature. So I fancy a bit of a Foden-Alvarez masterclass. Manchester City 3, Palace 0.
An incredible 99% of Super 6 players are expecting Pep's men to get the win this weekend. Over 350,000 agree with you, Dean. They're predicting a 3-0 win for City. And finally, Chelsea face Sheffield United at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, incredible record they've got. Won 52 and drawn 12 of their 67 home Premier League games versus newly promoted sides. But they'll make hard work of it because they miss lots of chances. But I still fancy a 2-0 Chelsea win.
That scoreline is actually the most popular prediction of the round, with over 360,000 players predicting a 2-0 win for Poch's side. After commentary of Ipswich Norwich, I'm going to take you around the grounds with all the goals as they go in from all the 3 o'clock games in the Premier League, the EFL, National League, and the top 2 divisions in Scotland as well, here on Talksport. On Talksport 2, they've got exclusive commentary of Newcastle against Fulham with Ian Danta and Mickey Gray. And it's all thanks to Super 6, and don't forget Super 6 has set up its very own Talksport League. Sign up on the Super 6 website or app using the code TALKS6. That's in capitals, TALKS6, where you can also win £100 for topping the league every single round. And remember, get those predictions in by 3 p.m. today. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply.
The Talksport match predictor with the Super 6 Christmas rollover. Predict 6 correct scores for the chance to win £250,000. Get your entries in by 3 p.m. today with Super 6. 18 plus, terms and conditions apply.
So one apiece, Dean Ashton at Portman Road, waiting for the players to come out for the second half. If you are Ipswich and you've bossed the game as they have done in that first half, and let me give you the stats for it. They've had 63% possession, they've had 9 efforts on goal, 3 on target. Norwich have scored with their only efforts on target. So Norwich have been dominated by Ipswich in that first half. So in that dressing room, is there a sense of disappointment a little bit among the Ipswich players and staff that they haven't put the game to bed already?
I think there'll be a tinge of it. I think it'll be more Broadhead will probably have that in the back of his mind, even though he's scored a goal, that he's had those chances to score. Gilt edge, you would have to say, really, with the opportunities that he's had. But this is a team that have just been on a roll for 2 years, Aid, so I don't think they'll be too worried. And they've been in positions where they're either behind or drawing, and they've looked comfortable at the end of the game when they've come out winners. So I think there's a very good mindset in that dressing room. I don't think it'll worry them too much, and they'll expect to beat Norwich still off that first half display.
It's the attacking players who normally get the credit, and certainly Ipswich score a lot of goals, and you understand that. There's a couple of other players I wanted to highlight. I think Cam Burgess at the back, I mean, he sometimes looks so casual, but he's so in control all the time. I think he's really lovely to watch as a centre-half. But I also want to talk about Sam Morsey as well, who does a specific job in midfield. If I put it this way, Dean, as a fan, you want him in your team, but also as a fan, you hate him if he's not in your team. Does that make sense?
Of course. I think he's obviously very physical in the way that he plays. He's aggressive, but he's got wonderful quality too, because Ipswich do like to try and play through the middle part of the pitch. But I think away supporters constantly just think, how is he not yellow card? How does he keep getting away with foul after foul? He's one of those players, the type of Fernandinho type player that just seems to be able to play in a manner that the referee doesn't feel that they're yellow cards because of his physicality. But I've been impressed today because Norwich have squeezed the play. He's had to be really important to try and play out. And I mean, you mentioned Burgess. Burgess has been brave in the way that he tries to fizz that in towards Broadhead and Leif Davis when that's needed.
Yeah, they do look so good on the ball, and maybe that is the key to this division, to be that good on the ball. They sometimes, it looks like Norwich haven't got a really energetic press, have they? But they're standing in positions and trying to stop things happening. But all of a sudden, a couple of popped passes zipped here and there, and Ipswich are up the field in no time at all.
Yeah, they are. I mean, look, Norwich are playing in a way with Barnes and Ida almost become a two that try and stop the passing lanes into that midfield area. But then when Ipswich play quickly, then the space is out wide. Leif Davis and also Burns have been excellent in that first half. But they're trying to congest the middle of the park and still leave themselves, Norwich, with two players up there. So when they do win the ball back, can they then break quickly, which they have done a couple of times.
But to be honest with you, I'm thinking, should Norwich go with a high press to stop it? No, because they'll play around it. It feels like they're so good, so well drilled, and so much quality in these Ipswich players, there isn't a lot anyone can do about it.
No, and they probably won't, and I'm pretty sure they'll get promoted because they're just such an impressive side, and fingers crossed they haven't had many injuries for the Ipswich manager.
Well, Ipswich pretty much in control in that first half, but the scoreline doesn't really reflect that. It's Ipswich 1, Norwich 1. What's going to happen in the second half? Live and exclusive on Talksport with Dean Ashton and Joe Shennon.
And we are just back underway, 7 seconds into the second half. 1-1 the score, as Adrian was mentioning. And Ipswich have got the game back underway, playing from right to left in the second half in their blue and white towards the Sir Bobby Robson end of the stadium, the most vociferous, loudest end of Portman Road, and Norwich City playing from left to right in their canary yellow and green. No changes at half-time, so it's as you were in terms of the teams. I'll give you the sides in full in just a moment, but here come Ipswich on the attack straight away. Chaplin's ball in field, though, intercepted by Sara, and Norwich have possession back. So it's Hladky still in goal for Ipswich, with Clark, Wolfenden, Burgess and Davis the back four, Luongo and Morsey in midfield, Burns, Chaplin and Broadhead the goal scorer behind Hurst up front. And for Norwich City, Gunn is their goalkeeper, Stacey, Duffy, McLean and McCallum are the defenders, with Nunez on the ball now. He's given it away to Burns, in fact. Nunez and Sara in midfield, Rowe the goal scorer, Barnes and Sainz behind Ida up front. Ipswich on the attack on the far side there right, but the vast majority in Portman Road are frustrated because Hurst thought he'd managed to draw a foul from Borja Sainz. The assistant didn't think so. Up went that lime green flag, signalling for a Norwich throw. Far side of the field in their left back position. 90 seconds gone in the second half. 1-1 in the latest instalment, this long-awaited 149th East Anglian derby. And Dean Ashton, formerly of Norwich, is with me in the commentary box.
Yeah, and Nunez just looking like he's limping after that challenge with Burns. I don't think they want to lose him because of the way that David Wagner has set up with McLean in that back line. Nunez has been excellent in midfield, trying to link when they have had the ball. It's usually been him, McLean and Sara that have combined to get Norwich up the pitch.
Some Ipswich fans still finding their way back to their seats here. We're in the upper tier of the main stand. A big drop down to the touchline. Nice and close to the field of play. Smack on the halfway line here, live on Talksport. Remember, we've got Newcastle against Fulham at 3 on Talksport 2. And Premier League team news to come in about 20 minutes or so. Around the grounds later on Talksport. And then we'll be into the evening and the live cricket on Talksport 2. England against the West Indies. The game day phone in here on Talksport. Best way to be across all of the action is to download our free app. That way you can swipe between the stations at your leisure. Here is Stacey in the right back position for Norwich, near side of the field. Plays it back to Shane Duffy. Duffy on the corner of his own penalty area. Square ball infield to Sara, who's glided into the position between the two centre-halves again, and it's his neat ball up to the halfway line, well controlled by Ashley Barnes. He lays it back to Borja Sainz. The Norwich number 7 darts into opposition territory. He's now reached the edge of the penalty area, onto Rowe. Rowe infield, tries to play the ball square to Ida, blocked off by Morsey. Out of play it goes for a Norwich throw, and Ipswich were a bit slow on the uptake there. 1-1, 3 minutes into the second half.
Oh, it's really good play though from Norwich City, playing it into Barnes and then having runners off him. Sainz coming off the left-hand side into the middle to take that ball off Barnes and drive forwards. Just thought Rowe was a little bit slow in terms of getting that onto his right foot and taking a strike.
Nunez from the right wing position will hoist the throw in high and long towards Duffy. Got the touch, comes back to Rowe. It's squeezed in. It's under the goalkeeper. It's a second for John Rowe and Norwich City. It was deflected beyond Václav Hladky, and Norwich have turned the game around. And is there going to be yet more East Anglian derby heartache for Ipswich Town? Right at the start of the second half, it's Ipswich 1, Norwich 2.
Well, it's becoming someday for 20-year-old Rowe. It comes from nothing, I've got to say. It's just a hopeful throw in towards the penalty area. It drops to the feet of Jonathan Rowe, and he just puts his foot through it. He doesn't even think about it. He just smashes it through the legs of the defender. Hladky is totally unsighted, which means it just goes straight underneath him. I don't think there's a lot he could do. It was flashed past him with such pace from Jonathan Rowe. But what a surprise at the start of this second half.
And it's the 20-year-old who has scored twice. Norwich have turned the game around, and is their hold on this fixture going to continue? Will it be another year, ultimately, without a Derby Day victory for Ipswich Town, the team who were leading at one stage, and of course they would go top of the Championship with a victory, but 2 goals from John Rowe, the second drilled under the body of the goalkeeper at the Sir Ralph Ramsey end of the ground, and it's Ipswich 1, Norwich 2 on Talksport. And what a remarkable turnaround here, and how remarkable is this for David Wagner, who's been a man under pressure of late, the Norwich head coach, but his side are in front. Here is Chaplin for Ipswich at the other end of the field. He can't bring it under his control. Sandwiching between 2 yellow shirts, and now McCallum will drive forward for Norwich City. Forward to Sainz on the halfway line. He's got Ida ahead of him. Sainz is a tricky, nippy player. He's skipped away from 2 in blue, and he's kept his composure to play it back to Sara. And the noise you can hear now is from the 2,000 Norwich supporters housed in the upper tier of the cobbled stand on the far side. And in fact, there are only a couple of dozen in the very lower tier of the cobbled stand on that far side of the field. The Ipswich supporters, though, Dean Ashton, are a little bit shell-shocked. We've only had 51 minutes of the game, so a long way still to go, but nobody can quite believe that Norwich have turned it around to lead 2-1.
No, and you can't blame them, to be honest, after such a good first half performance, to feel like they're 2-1 down.
Harry Clark crosses, broad head for Ipswich, edge of the box, lays it off to Chaplin, and he hits it wide, left-footed first time, slightly off balance, wanted a corner, arms outstretched, looks towards the referee. Beneath the cloudy skies here, Ipswich fans likewise are fuming, but it's a goal kick to Norwich, who lead by 2-1.
Yeah, and it should have been a corner. Chaplin's absolutely right. You could see that it took a little deflection off Sara's foot. They're so good at that, Ipswich, feeding it into the forward, dropping it back then for a player that's just supporting. They've been so good at that, but it's about mentality now for the Ipswich players. The season that they've had, to be in this position, got to try and lift the crowd.
Well, this is a scoreline that will encourage, among others, Leeds United, who, as it stands, will be 10 points behind Ipswich. Leeds in third. They take on Coventry later, and of course the Game Day Live will bring you all the goals as they go in from around the grounds. Morsey darting up the middle low for Ipswich, square to Broadhead, a long way to go here. Broadhead edge of the box, wide left to Davis, first time cross, turned behind by Duffy, corner to Ipswich, and there's that roar of the home supporters again as they seek an equaliser 7.5 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, you can't go into your shells if you're an Ipswich player. You've got to remember that you've been the better side, keep playing with that tempo that they did in the first half. Brilliant bit of football again, feeding it out towards Leif Davis, first time cross. Duffy Good positioning as a centre-back there.
Davis with the outswinging corner, dreadful. Into the near post, but an even worse clearance by Sainz. High up into the air. It's still in the 18-yard box, nodded back in by Luongo. Swept away on the cover by McCallum. Coming across from the left-hand side to knock it out of play with his right foot. And a throw to Ipswich at the base of this three-tiered main stand. Near side there left. Still plenty forward in blue. Everybody behind the ball for Norwich City. Here is Wolfenden inside the centre circle with a square pass to Clark. Clark's ball out towards the right, intercepted by McCallum, who will hammer it clear. Well, they've come from behind on numerous occasions so far this season to win matches. Ipswich Town, they were behind away at Watford on Tuesday night. They came from a 1-goal deficit to win that 2-1. They were ahead here, now behind to their local rivals, trailing by 2-1. Will they come roaring back again? Long way still to go. 8.5 minutes into the second half. The ball is out of play, and it's a throw to Ipswich on the far side there right.
And that's what they've got to remember. They can't let a little bit of anxiousness from the stands affect how they play. They've been so effective this season with the way that they play. They don't need to get too snatchy with passes, play the wrong pass.
Davis with a looping cross, high to the far post. Burns backpedaling, watches it down onto his right foot, teases it back to Clark, back out wide to Burns. Burns floats in the cross, header away by Duffy. From the middle of the 6-yard box, Norwich dropping very, very deep. Ipswich seeking an equaliser. Live on Talksport, a thrilling East Anglian derby. Luongo with a square pass to the far side, the right now, and Burns. Jinks inside, not beyond Sainz, who fouls his opposite number. Free kick to Ipswich, right wing position, dangerous position this Dean.
And that has been a feature of Norwich. Have tried to put that pressure on. Sainz there, just stupidly dangling a leg out. He doesn't need to, he's defended well there. He stopped Burns, he's then put his foot out and given a dangerous free kick away.
Well, it might be quiet at the moment at Portman Road, but the roof will come off again if Ipswich can get an equaliser here. Morsey, the captain, is standing over the free kick. Long line of players on the edge of the 18-yard area. At the Bobby Robson end, floated in by Morsey. Burgess heads it over the top. Clean header on that from the centre-half, Cameron Burgess, but he couldn't find the top corner. It's a goal kick to Norwich, who are 2-1 up.
Yeah, he doesn't really miss a header, does he? Burgess wins every single header. And he was up against McLean. He took a nice little ride on the back of Kenny McLean. Just couldn't quite guide that header back towards that top corner, just over the top. It was difficult when you're climbing on top of someone to still control the header.
And here's Borja Sainz breaking at the opposite end of the field into Ipswich territory. Excellent sliding tackle on him by Clark. Now Nunez, ball to the near side, the right, and Stacey right in front of the two dugouts. David Wagner still there, his arms folded. Kieran McKenna about 10 yards to his right, the Ipswich boss. Doesn't lose many. Cross into the box by Stacey. Eder trying to poke it home, and it's spilled by the goalkeeper. And then he was lucky that Wolfenden was there to get it clear. Only as far as the edge of the box. Ipswich in disarray. Nunez low shot. That's blocked. Rebounds to the edge of the area again. Rowan a hat-trick. Through to Barnes. Barnes goes down into the challenge of Davis. If anything, it was a coming together, and I thought it might have been a foul by Barnes, if nothing else. Referee allowed play to continue. It's gathered by Hladky, and he has stopped the game now, Josh Smith, as Davis gets to his feet.
Yeah, it's good defending is what it is from Davis. Little cute pass into the wards. Barnes down the side of the centre-back. Leif Davis came across, read the ball, just got his body across, took a whack for his troubles. There's no way that it was a penalty, but again, Norwich, when they do put those passes together, they're a threat, and that's a chance for Eder. Decent ball in from Stacey. He's gone with the outside of his right. Why doesn't he let that come across and try and volley it with his left? Would give him a much better chance of getting that on target.
Both been given away by Connor Chaplin, and here is Barnes, the number 10 on the edge of the centre circle. He's fouled by a retreating Morsey. Free kick to Norwich City, who lead 2-1, and Ipswich look rattled here. They've had such an exciting and such a tremendous season so far, going for 5 successive wins this afternoon in the second tier for the first time since October 2003, when Joe Royle was the manager at Portman Road. But having taken the lead deservedly on Derby Day, Norwich have reacted very well and have pegged them back to lead. And actually, worth noting, Norwich, if they were to win this afternoon, would move level on points with Sunderland in 6th in the Championship. The Wagner revival continues. Floated crossfield by Sara to McCallum, who scoops it high first time left-footed towards the edge of the penalty area. Rather ungainly cross. Cleared away on the volley by Clark. It's come back to the far side, the left now. And Sara, and then hoisted up the inside left channel, way overhit by Rowe, whose 2 goals have turned it around. Out of play, goal kick to Ipswich, and I'm just wondering whether Kieran McKenna, Dean, will be thinking about an Ipswich change at this point.
I mean, possibly. He's got some very decent players on his substitutes bench, the likes of Ladapo, Harness, Jackson. And I just think he'll want Connor Chaplin in the game. That's what Norwich have done very, very well. They've not allowed Connor Chaplin to be his usual creative self, although he's on the ball now.
And Chaplin, the number 10, steers it towards the right, and Burns, underhit pass from Chaplin, undercooked. That allowed McCallum to slide in and hack it out of play. And you could hear the frustration of the home supporters really starting to grow. The atmosphere pre-match, the loud chanting, the huge banner, the tifo that was unfurled away to our left-hand side. All of that feels forgotten now. Norwich lead 2-1, and this is a fixture that Ipswich simply cannot buy a win in over recent years. Here's Davis down the near side, the left for them. Back in field to Luongo, little touch to Morsey. Norwich with everybody back behind the ball. Luongo now forward to Broadhead. Broadhead inside left channel, wriggles away from Stacey. He's led with the edge of the 18-yard box. Again, lots of yellow shirts in front of Broadhead, so he has to go back to the halfway line. And Burgess, Wolfenden now, stepping into the Norwich territory. Square pass to the right-hand side, and Clark. Out to the far side, the right, and Burns midway inside the Norwich half. Almost man for man at the moment, Norwich City. And they're making life really difficult for their local rivals. But here's Chaplin, the number 10, chipping the ball crossfield towards the right. It's evaded Stacey, it's evaded Davies too, though, and that's out of play for a Norwich throw. An hour gone, David Wagner applauds. Norwich 2-1 up, and Norwich look very well organised at the moment.
Yeah, and because they've got that lead now, they can really sit in, and they just want to deny that space between defence and midfield. They're happy for it to go wide. They're happy that McLean and Duffy will deal with crosses.
The Broadhead has won it back off Barnes, though. Square to Chaplin, edge of the D, onto Burns. Burns shoots low and scores! It's 2-2! And Wes Burns with a Derby Day goal to savour. Ipswich are back in it. We've had 4 goals at Portman Road. It's been a thrilling Derby Day so far, and it could go either way. Ipswich 2, Norwich 2, game on.
They are so good at this, Ipswich. If you give the ball away, 2 or 3 passes and it's in the back of your net. Ashley Barnes sloppy with the hold-up play, gives it away. Connor Chaplin quickly fizzes it out to Wes Burns. And how often does this happen? Where a player shifts it, the defender sticks his leg out to block it, then you fire the shot through the defender's legs and the goalkeeper can do absolutely nothing. Angus Gunn rooted. It's a brilliant finish from Wes Burns into that far corner.
And now from a funereal atmosphere to a frenetic one. 2-2 on Talksport. We've got half an hour to go. Well, this is why we love the EFL. We just love Derby Day matches like this. Foul by Burns, jumping high on McCallum. Norwich, of course, still may yet have a say, another say in this remarkable encounter. But it's Ipswich who've dragged themselves back level. We promised goals, we've had goals, and we haven't, I'm sure, Dean, seen the end of the goals yet.
I wouldn't have thought so. No, it's exactly what they needed. You could sense the atmosphere. You could sense a few groans and moans when passes weren't completed, because they know they've got the history, they've got the wounds, these Ipswich supporters, from not being able to get over the line in this fixture. Well, they're right back in it. And again, that mistake from Norwich, you give the ball away, they're so good. And it's a brilliant finish from Burns. A little shift and shoot through McCallum's legs. Nothing Angus Gunn could do.
Well, there's a Norwich player down receiving treatment on the edge of the penalty area at the moment. It's McCallum, so the game has been stopped. But Portman Road all of a sudden is absolutely bouncing here. And Ipswich have got themselves back level ahead of the championship fixtures to come. And then we've got Birmingham against Leicester on Monday night. We've got commentaries Monday to Saturday next week on the network. Premier League matches, the Carabao Cup quarter-finals, the EFL, and then we're into the festive football. Make sure you download the Talksport app to be across it all. 3 o'clock today, Newcastle entertain Fulham on Talksport 2. Free scoring Fulham of late, and we'll be around the grounds here on Talksport from 2:30 with Adrian, Ray Parler, Perry Groves and the team. We'll bring you Premier League team news actually very shortly on Talksport as well. Now then, treatment still ongoing for McCallum here, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the goal, and I think it's clear that Shane Duffy understands the threat that Ipswich pose. He gave Ashley Barnes an absolute rocket. He was so annoyed with his centre forward because he knows if you give the ball away in that area, they're not set. Norwich, 2 passes, it was in the back of their net. He was not happy with Barnes.
Well, McCallum is sitting up now, and it doesn't necessarily look like Norwich are definitely going to be forced into a change here, though there is quite a lot of activity in front of the Norwich bench, and David Wagner is speaking to the 4th official. McCallum gets to his feet, and of course the atmosphere has completely turned here beneath the clouds of Portman Road. Another capacity crowd of about 30,000 or so, and there are Norwich players warming up on the near side touchline, but as I say, no sign of anything imminent as yet, although there may be. It's hard to see exactly who's down there because we've got so many Ipswich fans standing up in front of us on the near side touchline. I think it might be Onel Hernandez who was being readied, and he knows a thing or two about scoring in this fixture. He's done that before. Anyway, the game is back underway after the treatment for McCallum. McCallum off the field. Norwich temporarily down to 10. 2-2 the score, and we're 19 minutes into the second half. We're with Talksport. Burgess is midway inside his own half for Ipswich. On to Morsey, the captain. High raking ball to the right. Well controlled by Burns. Let it just drop across his body. Sights back defending to win it back for Norwich. And the fury of the Ipswich fans behind him, who thought that the challenge was a poor one. They thought it was a foul, but nothing given by the referee. Rightly so. Here come Norwich on the attack. Eder trying to break through the middle. A tackle back from Morsey. Fed back to the goalkeeper, Hladky, by Burgess. You just simply cannot take your eyes off this one for 1 second, and certainly don't adjust your radio. Forward by Chaplin, first time down the right, intercepted by McCallum, who's come back onto the field. Then he's on the ground again after Burns snapped back at him and tripped him. And that'll be a free kick to Norwich City, just inside opposition territory. 2-2, and who knows which way this game will swing next.
Yeah, I mean, look, Norwich have got to continue to carry a threat on the break. They can't sit back and defend. I don't think they're good enough defensively to do that. They've got to try and be composed still.
The ball is on the halfway line on the far side for Ipswich with Hurst. He chips it forward and it's intercepted by Sara. Dinks it up the far side. Hooked away by Luongo, tracking back for Ipswich. And now Morsey feeding the ball up to the halfway line. Broadhead got the wrong side of Rowe. And suddenly there's a big gap between the Norwich midfield and back line that Broadhead runs into. Up to the edge of the penalty area. Angle is much too much against him to have a shot. And he's marauded all the way to the near side touchline before playing it infield to Luongo, about 35 yards out. Now Wolfenden, the centre half, urged to shoot, miles from goal. Plays it wide to the right-hand side and Burns. 3-4 in the penalty area for Ipswich Town. 2-2, but no great pace at all to this attack. In fact, they're at walking pace here virtually. Here is Luongo again. Luongo, the number 25, angled ball to the feet of Chaplin. Chaplin pokes it back on the stretch to Wolfenden. Now Harry Clark. This is the game that means so much to both Ipswich and Norwich fans. Clark forward to Burns. First time cross, headed away by Stacey. And hooked further clear by Barnes. Broadhead was coming into the far post. Great defending by Jack Stacey for Norwich.
Yeah, excellent positioning from the full-back, making sure he's tucked in alongside his centre-back, which is needed when the ball's on the opposite side. And Ashley Barnes taking no chances this time. Chest volleys it upfield.
And now the ball is with Morsey, the Ipswich captain again. Ipswich enjoying much the better in terms of possession now. Playing towards the two-tiered Sir Bobby Robson end. All of the Ipswich fans in the lower tier are on their feet, and they were waving blue and white flags as the game started. Here is Davis, infield to Luongo, who jinks away from Rowe. 2-goal John Rowe. Back to the halfway line now, and Burgess again. Now Wolfenden at walking pace, forward through the middle to Hurst, trying to squeeze it square to Chaplin, but lots of yellow shirts behind the ball and Norwich clear. Can they counter with Eder, flicking it forward high towards Rowe. Davis goes in once, twice to win it back for Ipswich, and Morsier makes the tackle of Eder, and Clark will steer it wide to the right, and Burns shapes to drive in field away from McCallum, goes on the outside instead, down the far side the right, deflected cross, Ipswich corner. We're into the final quarter of the game, and it's 2-2, and Norwich are going to bring on Onel Hernandez very shortly.
Yeah, again, it's been a real test, hasn't it, for McCallum, the young man at left back against Burns. Got to say, I think he's done pretty well. He was unlucky with the goal because he's gone to block and it's gone through his legs, but he certainly will know he's been in a game.
He certainly does. I think we all feel like we've been in this game, Dean. Corner that Davis will take. It'll be in swinging and left-footed, drifted right underneath the crossbar, tipped over by Gunn. Had to backpedal the 6'5" goalkeeper to just tip it over the top with a glancing blow off his right hand. And another corner now, this time from the opposite side. So Davis will take a little swing away from goal this time.
Yeah, goalkeepers don't take chances anymore with those situations, not trying to grab it, just palming it over the top.
Well, especially when there was no one on the post. And many in the main stand rising to applaud Davis as he gets ready to take the corner, the number 3. 2-2 in the East Anglian derby, and still well over 20 minutes left. Davis delivers high into the penalty area. Header over the top from Burgess again. That's two-headed chances now for the centre half. Twice he might have done better. And here is the Norwich change, and it's John Rowe on a hat-trick, but he's taken off by David Wagner, and Onel Hernandez, who scored in the last East Anglian derby prior to today, is the man who's going to come on. We've got Premier League team news from around the grounds here on Talksport for you. Let's go to the Etihad first of all. Manchester City against Crystal Palace, and John Dunn.
One change to the Manchester City lineup, their last Premier League lineup, 2-1 win at Luton last week. Rico Lewis replacing Mateo Kovacic, meaning there's still no Erling Haaland. 5 changes for Palace following the 2-1 home defeat to Liverpool. Out go Johnston, Hughes, Lerma, Ayew and Edouard. In come Henderson, Mitchell, Elise, Riedewald and Mateta.
2-2 here at Portman Road. Ipswich have a throw in their left-back position. Newcastle against Fulham is our live and exclusive Premier League commentary on Talksport 2 to come. And with the team news, your commentator Ian Danter.
Well, Newcastle United are further disrupted in terms of team selection by the suspension to Kieran Trippier at right back. But Dan Burn is back fit and slots straight back into the back four. Tino Livramento switches from left back to right back from the defeat to Milan in midweek. Sean Longstaff also returns at the expense of Miley. 2 changes for Fulham as well after their 5-0 thumping of West Ham. Issa Diop comes in for the absent Calvin Bassey, and Willian is dropped to the bench to make way for Harry Wilson, who looked excellent coming on against West Ham in that 5-0 win last time out. It's live on Talksport 2 at 3 o'clock. Newcastle United against Fulham.
And Norwich are on the attack here with Eder flicking the ball up the left-hand channel towards Sainz. Goalkeeper Ladke gets across and he steers it into the path of Clark, who'll hammer it high downfield. Ipswich 2, Norwich 2, 25 minutes into the second half. And Stacey has the ball on the halfway line. Let's bring you some more Premier League team news from Stamford Bridge and Talksport's Alex Crook.
5 changes for Chelsea as Petrovic makes his full Premier League debut in goal, while Thiago Silva, Colwill, Sterling and Jackson also start, and Kunku is on the bench for the first time. The Blaze make 2 alterations with Lowe and McBurney coming in. It's Chelsea against Sheffield United.
And we'll get team news from the Vitality Stadium very shortly. There's a throw to Norwich though, deep inside Ipswich territory on the far side there left, right in front of the 2,000 away supporters, and McCallum's wrapped the ball up in his shirt and he'll hoist it long into the penalty area. A game that has ebbed and flowed. 2-2. Throw from McCallum, high towards the near post. Barnes jumping forward, headed away by Burgess. Got tremendous distance on that throw, did McCallum. But Ipswich get it away, and now they might be on the break with Chaplin. Chaplin, though, beaten to it by a retreating Duffy. He was caught, though. Free kick to Ipswich, and let's get that team news from the South Coast. Bournemouth against Luton at 3 o'clock. Here's Ian Abraham.
It'll come as no shock to anyone after their win at Old Trafford that Bournemouth are unchanged today and go with the same side. 2 changes for Luton after losing to Manchester City last week. Kabore returns for the suspended Nakamba, and Lokonga replaces Giles.
All the goals as they go in around the grounds with Adrian Durham from 2:30 on Talksport. That's followed by the game day phone in at 5:30 with Majestic and Gabiak Bonlahor. It's Ipswich 2, Norwich 2 in the East Anglian derby here. The ball is on the halfway line and in Ipswich possession with Clark. It's finished Tottenham 1, Arsenal 0 in the WSL. Far side the right is Burns crossing, cut out of the near post by Duffy, only half away. Now Morsey, 30 yards out, lays it square. Luongo sizes up a shot and slices that well wide. It's out of play, it's a goal kick, 18 minutes left. Which way do you see it going here, Dean Ashton?
Oh, thanks. No idea. No idea. I'm very surprised, though, that Jonathan Rowe has been taken off. You're on a hat-trick. You've got yourself 2 goals. You're super, super confident. How can you take him off? Yeah. I am quite amazed at that. But I guess the only thing is Leif Davis constantly getting down the left. Maybe they want a bit of protection defensively with Hernandez coming on and that extra bit of energy. But how do you feel if you're Jonathan Rowe on a hat-trick in a derby and you've been taken off?
Yes, there have been 8 hat-tricks in East Anglian derbies. The last one scored by a Norwich player, Grant Holt, in 2010. But there may not be one today. Here is Nunez in the centre circle, forward to Norwich for Barnes. Barnes inside Ipswich territory. He's been robbed of possession by a combination of Luongo and Morsey. And now Broadhead attacking the back line. Gets it back from Hurst and lays it on to Chaplin. Midway inside the Norwich territory in a centre position. Chaplin onto his left foot, that wonderful left foot. Wide to the near side and Davis slightly overhit the pass. Davis had to stretch to keep it in. He's done so in front of Stacey. Davis cornered the penalty area. Will tuck it back to Luongo, back out wide to Davis. Now he whips in the cross, headed away by Duffy. Drops down to Clark, little touch to Morsey, edge of the D, twisting and turning and knock it back to Luongo. He was fouled. Good decision by the referee because he was fouled by Barnes just as he went to shoot. The ball was back to Luongo. There was no real advantage there, and it'll be a free kick now to Ipswich in a very dangerous position right on the edge of the D.
But a lot of referees would have played the advantage a bit further, I think, in that particular passage of play. The referee felt like there was an opportunity. It was definitely a foul. Barnes just catching Morsey as he flicked the ball away, and this is a brilliant position for either left or right-footed player because it's pretty central.
26 goals last season for Connor Chaplin in League One, the League One Player of the Year. He's placed the ball down and Broadhead is standing over it too. So Tottenham 1, Arsenal 0 in the WSL, a full-time score. Arsenal missing the chance to go top. And it's Gateshead 0, FC Halifax Town 2, a latest score in the National League. FC Halifax Town who are chasing the playoffs. Broadhead and Chaplin, both hands on hips, standing over this. It's at the Sir Bobby Robson end. And the chant actually from the home supporters is for Broadhead to hit this one, having scored once already. The scores are level at 2 apiece. We've got 15 minutes to go. Free kick over 25 yards out. Dead centre pretty much. And it's Chaplin to curl it left-footed, and it's swinging over the top. He went the same side as the goalkeeper in the end, and it's a goal kick.
Yeah, they just tried to use a couple of players near the wall, Ipswich, to distract Angus Gunn, thinking that Broadhead was going to take it. And then left-footed from Connor Chaplin. Up and over the top, Angus Gunn did what every goalkeeper should do, which is stay on that side and make sure it doesn't go into your corner, so he had it covered.
Well, lots of Premier League football to come this afternoon, including Newcastle against Fulham on Talksport 2. Premier League football tomorrow, covered by the Sunday session, will go around the grounds. Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoy's back on Talksport Breakfast Monday from 6. Graham Souness on with Wright and Jordan, 10 till 1. Here's Clark bursting down the right for Ipswich, cutting the ball back across. It takes a deflection, tipped over by Gunn. Was spiralling back towards goal, and the Ipswich fans roar with a fervour and a vigour that even in this game we've rarely seen. What a reaction to winning a 6th corner as it deflected off McCallum and Gunn tipped it over.
That's because Clark is giving it the full treatment on that far side. Marauding run down the right from Clark, and then getting that crowd behind the goal going.
Davis will take the corner, left-footed in, swinging. It does feel like Ipswich have got the momentum in the game now. Into the near post, Burns got a touch, cleared away. And now breaking forward is Sara, only about 10 yards forward of his own penalty area. He's chipped it beautifully up the left-hand side. It's a bouncing ball, well brought down by Clark on the defensive. And now they look to counter Ipswich with Chaplin poking it out to the right-hand side and Burns. Burns driving forward one-on-one with McCallum. He's reached the corner of the penalty area. He forgot to take the ball with him. And McCallum made the tackle, and then Burns caught Sara late. The referee was right behind the play, had the perfect view. And Norwich have a free kick, and actually that's a yellow card for Burns. And the game that hadn't produced a single yellow finally has one.
What? And it's always one that probably shouldn't be one, because he's not given one yet. And so Burns is probably the most unluckiest player, especially considering the fact I think he's going to be substituted straight away.
Well, Chaplin is going to come off as well. And off goes Burns, as you say, Dean. And it's Amari Hutchinson, the Chelsea loanee, on for Ipswich Town. And Marcus Harness is there as well. A regular off the substitutes bench, a former Portsmouth player, Marcus Harness. He's made over 100 substitute appearances in his league career. A regular off the bench. And so they've got dynamism and pace that they've introduced to the attack here, Ipswich Town, for the last 12 minutes of normal time, with the score still 2-2 in the East Anglian derby on Talksport.
Yeah, incredible. The two players you're taking off, Chaplin and Burns, terrific players. Feels pretty ruthless, doesn't it, from Kieran McKenna, but feels he needs something different on that side.
Well, he's never afraid to make changes, and he's never afraid to make changes to his starting 11 either. They have a trip to Leeds next weekend before a home game against Leicester, both live on Talksport 2. For Norwich, a home game against Huddersfield to come, and then a trip to West Bromwich Albion on Boxing Day. Promotion chasing, or playoff chasing, West Bromwich Albion. The ball is on the halfway line with Ipswich and Davis. Little touch from Hernandez, has seen it fall fortunately into the path of Hurst. Wide he goes to Hutchinson. His first touch, corner of the penalty area. Couple of step overs, drives it in low, deflected, falls towards Harness. He can't get the shot away. The two subs nearly combined there. Cleared away by Sara. Ipswich back on the attack. Now it's Clark driving in field. A 1-2 with Harness, and it's been left by Clark. It's gone back out wide to the right hand side and Hutchinson. Now Harness again, corner of the penalty area, tries to jink away from sights. Is there going to be a late winner here? It's Clark to try and pull it back. The last touch via a double ricochet very much came off Clark, and it's out of play for a goal kick to Norwich City.
Well, that certainly would have given him a little smug smile, wouldn't it, Kieran McKenna? If the two subs had combined, that ruthlessness would have paid off. And it just feels like we're going to have a proper grandstand finish to this game. A little bit of a lull. Ipswich just probing, building up to a big last 10 minutes or so.
And of the players, Dean, some will believe they can make the difference, but will there be one or two worrying about making a mistake that could cost their team the game, potentially here?
Depends on their mentality. Some players do, but generally I think certainly Ipswich, only they'll be thinking about winning this game. I don't think they're going to take a step back, that's for sure.
Well, they're level. Both sides have shared 4 goals, 2 apiece. And the ball's on the right-hand side now with Clark, the right-back position for Ipswich Town. And Clark will hammer it long, high up the middle. Hurst is chasing a bouncing ball. Goalkeeper had a good starting position just inside his penalty area gun, able to gather, and he bowls it out quickly to McLean. McLean chips the ball through the middle towards Eder, headed away by a retreating Wolfenden. And now Luongo, after a clever flick pass by Clark into his path, finds Morsey. Morsey, the Ipswich captain, midway inside his own half. Up towards Harness, just shy of the halfway line. Quickly wide towards Hutchinson. Hacked away by McCallum, who made the interception. And now Borja Sainz looking to wriggle away down the left-hand side for Norwich City. He's being tracked all the way by Morsey. Morsey and Clark do enough between them. He had blue shirts all around him there. Sainz didn't really have anywhere to go. Norwich have won it back though again, and here's Barnes, 10 yards into opposition territory. Ball being given away with regularity at the moment. 9 minutes plus stoppage time to go on Talksport, with all of the afternoon action still to come in the Premier League and in the Championship and across the country. Here is Sara on the halfway line. There's another one of those blue balloons somehow strayed onto the pitch. And back it goes to Nunez, midway inside his own half, jinked away from Hurst. He had to be composed there, Nunez, and he was.
But I think that's where they have wanted to take a risk with Nunez going back into that back line to try and play their way out, Norwich.
Header infield by Stacey for Norwich. He was caught late by Davis. That 50-50 crossfield ball. And Davis clattered into him. A free kick again, rightly given by the referee, who has produced, I think, one of the best refereeing performances I've seen for a while. Josh Smith.
I think in a derby, it's what we've wanted. You don't want constantly players on the edge that they're going to get a red card because you've given out yellows regularly early on.
We all do go on about referees, so credit where it's due. 8 minutes to go, and suddenly it's quiet at Portman Road, and Norwich are enjoying a comfortable possession here, good possession, not in attacking areas, but they are slowing the pace of the game down, and they are quietening the home supporters as it's hoisted long by Nunez, and Borja Sainz unchallenged brings it out of the air, but the flag is up on the near side, that a quartered flag, yellow and orange, and Ipswich have a free kick. They take it quickly, they just tap it square. And now here's Wolfenden. Wolfenden, who joined Ipswich Town at the age of 11. He'll know what it means more than most. Clark on the halfway line, chips it high down the far side channel. It's brought down by Hutchinson. Hutchinson tried to nudge it back to Harness, but retreating was Sarah, and between he and McCallum, they managed to get the ball away, and in the end it's a Norwich throw in the left back spot. The pace of the game has just dropped in the last 3-4 minutes or so, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, pretty much since the substitutions, as Ipswich just get used to those, but Norwich, as it is important when you're away from home in a game such as this, can you keep the ball? Like you say, can you slow it down? Can you make the game very bitty and not let Ipswich get into a flow where they're constantly bombarding your box? And that's where the experienced players are so key for Norwich City.
And as it stands, Ipswich would have missed the chance to go above Leicester in the Championship table. Leicester, who have a better goal difference than Ipswich Town. These two will meet on Boxing Day live on Talksport 2, and Leicester in action on Talksport 2 on Monday night away at Wayne Rooney's Birmingham City. Here's Marcus Harness. Birmingham, who got a good win in midweek actually over Cardiff. Clark charging down the right-hand side for Ipswich. He's reached the edge of the 18-yard box. He's got an opportunity to cross. He does. It's high, it's hanging. It's reached Davis at the far post. He's brought it down neatly. He's delivered right-footed. It's headed away by Nunez this time. And now Onel Hernandez darting forward at great pace on the counter-attack for Norwich City. He's got Ida Maker run ahead of him. Hernandez is into the Ipswich half. He's trying to play it backwards. It's only half away. The ball just inside Ipswich territory now with Stacey, who, under pressure from Morsey, tried to poke it towards the edge of the penalty area. Got only the faintest of touches on it. Ladke came across, and Morsey, the midfield general, doing enough to win it back for Ipswich again.
He did, but that's just typical Onel Hernandez. Brilliant industry down the right-hand side, driving away with real pace, dribbling past a couple of players, but just refuses to get his head up. It's a brilliant run from Ida. He just needs to play it in behind for him.
2-2, and we've got 5.5 minutes of normal time to go on Talksport. Here is Clark for Ipswich, chipping it high down the far side, the right. Hernandez Hutchinson in a foot race to keep it in play, and he couldn't do so. It's bounced out into touch and a goal kick. And at this stage in the game, despite having come from behind at one stage to take the lead, from a Norwich perspective, I think certainly David Wagner would definitely take a point here.
Oh, of course, it'd be a fantastic result for Norwich, considering the way Ipswich have played, and especially here at Portman Road. They've been so impressive.
And it might really mean something for Norwich fans to keep their good run over Ipswich going, even if they were not to win the game. Marcus Harness, though, wearing gloves for Ipswich, the substitute, down by the far side corner flag. Again, Ipswich playing from right to left towards the Sir Bobby Robson end. Cross in by Clark, chested down by Broadhead, who's been quiet in the second half. Broadhead with his back to goal has managed to bring it down in front of Nunez, who took a swipe at the clearance but completely missed his kick. A nervy bit of defending from Nunez. And now Davis, level the edge of the 18-yard area. Infield to Broadhead, looked like handball by Ashley Barnes. Arm outstretched, referee allows play to go on. Luongo delivers, high right-footed, up towards Hutchinson, far post. He heads it back across, cleared away by Kenny McLean, first time left-footed. Ipswich win it back again. Morsey, middle of the Norwich half, back to Burgess. There's the roar of the home fans. 4 minutes to go, 2 goals apiece. Nothing to separate them at the moment. Here's Morsey, the captain, maybe sizing up a shot, left of centre, 25 yards out, feeds Broadhead back to goal. Out-muscled by Stacey, but he still manages to get it back from Luongo. Now Broadhead driving into the area, curling it! Good save! And it's Hutchinson at the far post. Can he pull it back? He thought about shooting, he's held on to it. He's still got it down by the dead ball line. Now Clark Clark caught on the penalty area. Infield to Harness, back out wide to Clark again. Hutchinson, angle tight, dead ball line, tries to chip it back across. I think he'd taken it out of play there, Hutchinson, before he pulled it back. Goal kick given, good stop by Gunn, but didn't Hutchinson hit the rebound first time?
I have got absolutely no idea. Why isn't he just tapping this in with his right foot? Instead, he just controls it. It's brilliant from Broadhead. Lovely little turn, half turn on the edge of the box, opened his body up onto the right hand side, curled it towards that far corner. Excellent save from Gunn with his opposite hand as he pushed it just to the side, but Hutchinson's there on the half volley. Hit that with your weaker foot, put it in the back of the net.
Well, here come the next set of changes. A triple change for Norwich City. Borja Sainz leaving the field. Przemysław Płacheta on in his place. Tony Springett, the man who joined Norwich City at youth level, onto the field in place of Adam Eder, who's now gone off. And the third of the three changes for Norwich City on the near side of the field has seen Sam McCallum taken off at this point, and McCallum is replaced by Danny Bart, very experienced central defender. And I think there might have been a bit of reshuffling in that back line for Norwich City, and indeed there has, because Bart has gone to centre half and McLean now playing at left back. They could even slip it into a 5 possibly. So 2-2, and there are 2 minutes plus stoppage time to go on Talksport. Ipswich against Norwich in the East Anglian derby. Stay with us for goals as they go in from the Premier League from 2:30 with Adrian Durham. Talksport 2 will have Newcastle against Fulham live and in full. And make sure you get the app so you can swipe between both stations as and when you wish. Here is Marcus Harness on the far side, the right, for Ipswich Town. He's played it back to Clark. Clark's ball is a poor one, intercepted by Płacheta. And then the young player Springett is caught in possession. Ipswich on the attack again. Hutchinson down by the dead ball line. Blocked off this time by Sara. And Springett retreating to try and help out his teammates. Płacheta likewise. Harry Clark of Ipswich has managed to hold on to it. He's nudged it infield with the outside of his boot to find Morsey. Midway inside Norwich territory. Can there be a late winner here? Possibly. Just over a minute of normal time to go. Hutchinson scoops in a high cross. It's up towards Broadhead. It's scrambled away by Nunez. Broadhead was under pressure from Danny Bart when he went up for that. He's nodded it down to the edge of the box though again. Broadhead edge of the D, and Harness is penalised for trying to swing at a loose ball, trying to get a shot away. He caught Sara, and the referee gives Norwich a free kick as we tick towards stoppage time.
He knew nothing about that, Harness. He's just thinking about taking the strike. Sara just nips in, takes the ball away, takes a whack for his trouble. But it almost looks like a back three really for Norwich now. Bart, Duffy, McLean, Płacheta on the left, Stacey on the right as wing backs, and they've tucked right back now, and they're going to probably try and soak this up and sit deep and take a point.
More live football than anywhere else on national radio on the Talksport network, and we are your home of the EFL. Forward ball by goalkeeper Gunn, high into Ipswich territory. And now Hernandez looking to break infield from the right-hand side. He's running to Davis, though. Ipswich have possession back, but Hernandez retreating to win it back with industry, and then it's carelessly given away by Nunez. Just floated it forward, and it's gathered by the goalkeeper. Into stoppage time. 6 added minutes at Portman Road. Ipswich 2, Norwich 2. The home team are on the attack. Ball on the far side, the right, with Hutchinson. Hutchinson scampers in field, lays it back towards the edge of the area. Retreating is Sara. And Sara makes the interception, and it's cleared upfield by Płacheta. Norwich very much playing on the counter-attack now. Barnes is the lone player upfield. Ipswich having most of the possession, but can they break them down? That's the question. 5.5 minutes of added time to go. Ball knocked infield by Davis, intercepted by Nunez, hoisted clear upfield by Jack Stacey for Norwich, headed back into Norwich territory by Burgess for Ipswich. And now the ball's bouncing up and down on the halfway line, and it's out of play for an Ipswich throw. And Ipswich are going to make a substitution here. Off goes George Hurst, and it's a triple change, in fact, with Caden Jackson replacing Hurst. Jack Taylor also taking to the field, and Massimo Luongo is the other man who's gone off, and Dane Scarlett, the man with the red boots, will come on in place of Nathan Broadhead. So a triple change in stoppage time at the end of the game, Dean.
Well, why not? You've got to go for it. If you're
Kieran McKenna something different, maybe a slight switch as well in positioning, something just to create that one chance you need at the end of the game.
They've had some special finishes here so far this season at Portman Road, and there might be another one to come in this match that means more than any other. 2-2 the score in the East Anglian derby. We've had 91.5 minutes, so 90 seconds through 6 added. The ball is out of play on the near side of the field, and it's out of play for a throw to Ipswich Town. Davis back to the halfway line, and Burgess square to Wolfenden. On to Jack Taylor, just inside opposition territory. Ipswich looking for the winner here. The ball is with Clark on the far side there right. He's got Harness 10 yards in front of him. Harness jinks away from the retreating defender and plays it back to the halfway line, and Wolfenden is in the centre circle now. Square pass from Taylor, out to the right again. All of the action inside the Norwich half. Crossfield ball by Clark, headed away by Jack Stacey from the corner of the 18-yard box. 2.5 minutes through 6 added, and still 2-2. Scarlett away down the left-hand side. He skipped beyond the defender, but his touch was heavy. Thundered away by Bart. Out of play. Throw to Ipswich. Home fans roar again, hoping for one last opportunity, and one opportunity that would win this game.
Yeah, they've just got to be composed, which they are trying to be. They're not just lumping it in there. They're trying to find that one key pass that could open up the space.
Caden Jackson playing through the middle. He's played in the East Anglian derby before. Here is Clark on the halfway line for Ipswich Town. Ball infield now to Wolfenden. Wolfenden touches it onto Clark. Morse's little flick towards the edge of the penalty area. Headed away by Duffy through a crowd. Halfway through stoppage time. You're listening to Talksport. It's 2-2 here at Portman Road. Harness darting towards the corner flag. Crosses in over the head of Scarlett. Headed away by Stacey. Ipswich fans on their feet all around the stadium were ready to celebrate a goal there, but Norwich have defended very well, and then that's a poor challenge on the near side of the field by Taylor on Stacey. That's a definite free kick for Norwich City, and they can waste away a few seconds with the score still level.
Yeah, every single one of those free kicks that have been won just settles it down for Norwich City. Slowly Angus Gunn will collect the ball and take this free kick. They can push up the pitch, Norwich.
First East Anglian derby since 2019. It has been a thriller, but it looks like the points will be shared. 2 minutes to go, and still 2-2. Noise from both sets of supporters. The ball is with the Ipswich goalkeeper, Václav Hladky, away to our right-hand side. Ipswich playing from right to left. They've got to get the ball upfield quickly if they want a winner.
I mean, they are trying to be composed. I'm surprised, though, that Burgess maybe hasn't gone up there. Just seems to win everything in the air, and maybe just take a chance of some chaos.
They'll miss out on the chance to go top if they don't win. Header away by Bart, drops for Scarlett, half cleared, and then Bart does get a tackle in to hammer it towards the halfway line. Forward by Wolfenden, scooping it high, right-footed, and it's sliced out of play. The Ipswich fans thought that was a late poor challenge from Hernandez, but the referee said no, and it is a Norwich throw in their right-back position because the last touch was off Wolfenden, and Stacey will take it. 2-2, just over a minute left. Premier League, EFL, goals as they go in from the National League as well in Scotland. And 2:30, Game Day Live with Adrian Durham, Ray Parlour and Perry Groves. Talksport 2 will have Newcastle against Fulham. Hernandez breaking down the right-hand side for Norwich. Was he wrestled to the ground there by Wolfenden? And then there's afters between the two. They both shove each other. Referee gets in between them. So too does Jack Taylor. Players from both sides converging on the incident. It's starting to calm down now. But it was an obvious foul by Wolfenden. And Norwich will have a free kick right at the very end of the game, about 5 yards from the right-hand corner of the penalty area. Can they win it here late on?
Well, of course, it's about the delivery. Can you get the delivery right? Can you give one of your players a chance to win it? That had just spilled over from the previous challenge as well with Hernandez and Wolfenden. Wolfenden didn't need to dive in. Hernandez wriggled away to win this free kick.
Kenny McLean is forward. Barnes is there. You can see Duffy and Bart inside the penalty area too. It's Nunez standing over the ball right at the end of 6 minutes added time at Portman Road, where it's 2-2 on Talksport. Can Norwich pinch the points here possibly? Nunez, one arm up into the air. He'll take the free kick. He'll whip it in high, right-footed, headed away, only as far as McLean, and he's hit it wide, left-footed on the half volley. Ipswich fans, hearts in mouths. Norwich fans thought it was in. Goal kick given, 2-2, and we play on now. 6.5 minutes into stoppage time.
Oh, it's half a chance, though, isn't it, for McLean on the half volley? Just didn't quite get the direction.
And that is the last meaningful action as a remarkable, magnificent East Anglian derby finishes 2-2. And Ipswich continue their run without a victory over their greatest rivals. You have to go back to April of 2009 for the last time they beat Norwich City, and Norwich's stranglehold on this fixture remains intact. Ipswich missed the chance to go top of the championship table, and for Norwich and David Wagner, a man who's been under great pressure of late, it is a very creditable point. It was a game that ebbed and flowed. Nathan Broadhead gave Ipswich a deserved lead before John Rowe scored the equaliser just before half-time, and it was the same player, Rowe, who drilled the ball between the legs of the goalkeeper, Hladky, to give Norwich the advantage early on in the second half. Wes Burns smacked it home from the edge of the penalty area to make it 2-2. Ipswich maybe will rue missed opportunities earlier on in the first half. Norwich, I think, will be the happier with the point. It has been a thrilling encounter, and it has ended live on Talksport. A great advert for the EFL, a great advert for the East Anglian derby. Ipswich Town 2, Norwich City 2.
Oh, at Christmas time, just as McLean had a chance right at the end. If McLean scores that, it's yippee-ki-yay, you know the rest. And welcome to the party, Ipswich fans. Dean Ashton, he put it wide, but what a game of football we've seen in Norwich. They're actually all smiles, the Norwich players, because they know everybody thought Ipswich would cruise this today. They thought it was a guaranteed home banker, and Norwich must feel like they've won the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Defended brilliantly at times, which has been rare this season. Actually, there was a real togetherness in that defensive unit, which again I think is a little point towards David Wagner and the players being on side. But you're right, Aid, it just shows once again in these derby games, sometimes it might be a bit of edginess in terms of finishing, which we saw with Ipswich today when they had those chances that were slightly snatched at, and then Norwich again with that defensive display raised their game towards this derby, and it made for a terrific encounter.
It really did. Listen, did Ipswich deserve to win? I know it's finished 2-3, they've scored 2 goals each, it's a draw. Balance of play though, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. They had the bulk of the opportunities. I mean, Norwich have scored 2 goals with their 3 shots on the target, which again just shows that they've taken those opportunities when they arised. That first half, Ipswich should have been 3-0 up with the chances that they had, and they'll feel like they've lost. That's the difference. Norwich are going over to their away fans feeling as if they've won the game, and Ipswich are walking around. You can just see the players so dejected that they haven't given their supporters the victory that they've deserved.
You know what, it's 1 defeat in 7 for Norwich, and you wonder, sitting in mid-table, we said before the game, they're only 3 points off top 6, but they are in mid-table. There's a lot of traffic between them and a playoff place. Long way to go, I know, but is this the kind of, I know they haven't won, but is this the kind of performance, kind of result in such a huge fixture that kickstarts a season?
I think it certainly helps, and I think it shows that the players are on board with how the manager, with the changes that he's made, with McLean going into the back line, with Nunez in midfield. It looked better today, albeit they gave up some chances. It's probably what the Norwich fans wanted to see, and it's a performance that's lacked. They've nicked a few results here and there, but they've lacked performance. Today was a much better performance, and with players coming back from injury, they might fancy their chances, because like you said, so congested in there.
It is. For Ipswich, is there a psychological issue potentially? Because they could have gone top, they haven't. They're behind Leicester still on goal difference, Leicester with a game extra to play. But also, that run of not winning a derby since 2009 goes on for Ipswich Town, and I think in the minds of the fans, it's something they would have been thinking, well, that's going to be over and done with today, but it's still hanging over them.
It is. They'll be absolutely gutted, won't they, the supporters and the players, because of the build-up I talked about. And they've got to try and put this aside, though, the players, and Kieran McKenna, and this is where his staff will be really important, because they haven't lost the game. And ultimately, they've played very well in huge parts of it. They impressed me once again with the way that they play. They didn't just lump it in there. They're trying to play their way through. He's made the changes, and it hasn't quite worked today. But they're in a great position, and they've got to still take that forwards because it's about promotion. This will hurt, of course.
Yeah,
it will.
and listen, they've got a tough one, haven't they? The next couple of games for them. Going to be live on Talksport 2, away to Leeds 2 days before Christmas. That's Saturday lunchtime, 12:30 kickoff. It's live on Talksport 2. Boxing Day, 7:45 is Ipswich, Leicester. These are huge games. This one was the start of the 3 gigantic games for Ipswich, all live across the Talksport network. And you wonder what's going to happen to them at the end of those 3 games. It's been a brilliant start. And listen, they're certainly not heading back down to League One. Nobody can complain about anything. But there might be a clearer picture of where Ipswich might end up at the end of the 3rd game of this run.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it'll depend with a quick turnaround how they are able to manage this result and the disappointment of not getting the victory today, because the games are so huge against Leeds, who will be chasing, and it depends how they get on at 3 o'clock, and also Leicester, who are a fantastic side with unbelievable players. So yeah, we'll see a different picture, I'm sure.
Dean, enjoyed your company. Are you going to be okay getting out?
I've got Shannon with me, I'll be fine. Good luck.
5'7" Shannon. I'm not sure you'll be okay there, mate. I think he's got a blue and white top on underneath that. What a great game we've seen. Leicester stay top of the table. Birmingham, Leicester Monday night is live on Talksport 2. They can extend their lead to 3 points at the top of the table. Leicester City with a win at Wayne Rooney's Birmingham. Ipswich thought they were going to win this one. Norwich got a 2-2 draw on Talksport. We brought you a fantastic game, and we're going to be heading round the grounds next on Talksport.